Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of the Pakistan Experience. Sorry, last week podcast nahi aayi. I'm looking for a studio space. So I've been busy with that, but we will make up for that with our guest today, actress, model, RJ, VJ, morning show host, health coach, director, actor. Very little things she has not done. Ayeshah Alam Khan, how are you?
I am doing amazing. Thank you, Shazad. And thank you so much for thinking of me. I assumed out of sight meant out of mind, because, when you, especially the media is a very fickle world, right? And I haven't been in Pakistan for so long. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on.
Interestingly, आपने पहली बात ये की when I put up your picture, Ayeshah Alam coming on the podcast, the most questions I got was, where is she? I loved her.
Where is she? Would be, who is she?
No, you really left a mark. Where is she? Where are you?
Thank you. So I'm in Houston, Texas. I've been here for 7 years. Prior to that, for 2 years, I was in Vietnam. So I've been out of Pakistan for a while.
क्यों आपने हमें छोड़ दिया?
Hi Allah. I left Karachi 2009. I got married. We moved to Lahore, and then my husband got this brilliant opportunity in Vietnam. So obviously, where the hubby goes is where we go, and so we just moved. And then when his contract was done, we had the opportunity of either coming back or seeing what the US had to hold for us. And because the girls are growing up now, mashallah, you remember them, right?
Yeah, of course.
They're now young women, and we wanted to, and they're both US citizens. We say, yeah, let's just go to the States, see what we can do over there, and give them the option of at least, having a different opportunity.
So we're in the thick of things. हम क्योंकि यहाँ रहते हैं, हमें पाकिस्तान एक तरह से नजर आता है. From the outside, what's the perception of Pakistan for you now when you see it?
So it's interesting because I have obviously I've made a lot of friends here, and when they hear I'm from Pakistan, obviously the first response is, oh, okay, interesting, right? However, I think because I have quite a few Desi people who are kind of doing the same thing as me, they're like health coaches in the health community, so they're starting to see that at the end of the day, people are just people. And every now and then you run across the odd person who's never had any exposure to the outside world because where they were born is where they grew up, and therefore blah, blah, blah. However, that's changing slowly, bit by bit. And I think the more of us Desis that show up in the communities where we are planted, the better that becomes, right? Because we get to have an influence of the people that we meet, and they realize that we're not all murdering terrorists, blah, 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 right? We are actually people just like them who got kids just like them, have aspirations just like them, and we're just people at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I mean, last week, मैं भी जब US में था, funnily enough, I thought Pakistan was more dangerous when I was in the US, because when you're living, you don't just rely on the news. You actually step outside and you're like, wait, everybody is not blowing everybody up. But लेकिन अगर आप news देखें, तो that's what it seems like. Like right now, it seems like every Muslim is out there to behead people, even though a couple of stupid people did that. So from the outside, for you, do you like now look at Pakistan and be like, this doesn't look like the country I left? This seems like a lot more dangerous now.
I don't know if it's a lot more dangerous. That's not how I would put it. I feel Pakistan has changed a lot, the social fabric at least, and not necessarily for the better. And that's based on what I'm seeing as far as movements are concerned, or as far as what you're seeing portrayed on television, which I know is not reality. However, it comes from somewhere. The thinking is coming from somewhere. And since most of my primary work right now is all about mindset, and it's all about how you think, right? Because how you think dictates how you act, right? So that's been really interesting to me. I'm seeing a lot of changes with that, some for the good, some not so much, I'm finding the social fabric as far as I think money-mindedness has really taken over, and as a result, scarcity mindset, greed. I mean, these are things that I'm seeing a lot more of. Someone recommended some drama to me, and I was watching. I was like, how can people even think about writing something like this? And my biggest gripe, by the way, with the media right now in Pakistan is media should be showing aspirational values. Instead of just mirroring and playing to the crowd, show them what's possible. Show them what could happen. Show them the kind of community that we can have, right? If we all come from the right mindset.
The conversations you were having, not to make you feel old, but like a couple of decades ago, even when Daira was coming on.
Yeah.
These were the conversation were happening कि ये क्या content बना रहे हो, खुदा के वास्ते अच्छा content बनाओ. And at least now there is some glimmer of hope कि with these content streaming services बेहतर content बन जाएगा. But do you think the content being made is even worse now than it was when you were saying कि भाई क्या content बना रहे हो?
I don't know. I think it's a mirror of where society is right now. If you look at it, I mean, it's coming from somewhere, right? So so for example, with the leaders, if you say the leaders you get are a reflection of the people that you are, right? It's the same thing for your media content. Your media content will show the reflection of the kind of people that you are. So for that to change, you're going to need some Roshan Khayali people to kind of get in the fray and go, hey guys, it's not about bad or bad content. It really is a reflection of society right now. And that's what's troubling. That's what's troubling.
I mean, if Khalilur Rahman Kamar is the reflection of our society, then troubling to is a बहुत छोटा loves. I think we're way beyond.
You think? You think?
But ये साहब तो हमेशा से exist करते हैं. I'm not sure if you're following.
And there will be 10 Khalil Rahmans like him, right? Like if it comes back to the story of so I love teaching through stories. Can I share one story with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
As many as you want.
One of my favorite stories is the starfish story, right? So there's a little kid who's like running around on the beach. Bhag raha. This old man is watching him. He's picking something up and throwing it back into the sea. And this old man is looking, what the hell is this child doing? So he goes up to him and he goes, son, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm saving these starfish's lives. And it's like, okay, there's like tens of thousands of them. So good luck with that one. And the kid goes, he goes, what kind of impact do you think you'll make? And so the kid picks up the starfish. He goes, I'll make a difference with this one. And he throws that one back in the sea. So, when you think about the bigger picture and you think, oh my gosh, the job is far too big for me to accomplish. However, even if each of us can make an impact somewhere, I think that's what makes the difference. So, yeah. So we need more people like you, Shehzad.
आप कुछ कह रही थी मेरे बारे में before. नहीं, we need more people like you. I think a lot of things that you did.
Yeah. So I was saying that's why we need more people like you, Shehzad, who can come in and challenge the norms and kind of go, okay, is this really where we want to go? And I think really being responsible with your writing, I'm all for pushing boundaries. Okay.
Yeah.
If you remember, we pushed boundaries when we wore sleeveless, right? Which was considered a big thing. When we did the Daira video with Fakhri Alam, sorry, not Fakhri Alam. Fakhir, thank you. Yeah. Fakhir will kill me. With Fakhir, just the fact that I was dancing, even though I was wearing the loosest clothing, I wasn't really dancing. It was more like jumping around. However, because there were 3 guys, oh my God, with me in the video, that created a huge scandal, right? It was, oh my God, look at that scarlet woman type situation. So we've always pushed boundaries and said, let's normalize things. And then let's talk about what the kind of values that we want to create. Now, did that open a whole new can of worms? Absolutely. And the pendulum is going to shift, right? It's going to go from left to right and then back to left. And you got to somehow find a middle ground. So I think right now, Pakistan is in the process of finding its middle ground.
For you, was it conscious? Was it conscious decision making that I'm making a conscious decision to push boundary, or is it just how you lived your life? आपके दोस्त से हमें खबर मिली है कि आप तो बचपन से ही Honda 50 चलाती थी. And I don't know how normal that was, because right now, if you see a woman on a bike right now in 2020 in Pakistan, it goes viral on Facebook कि ये देखो औरत बाइक चला रही है. And मुझे खबर मिली कि आप Honda 50 चला रही होती थी.
So that was out of necessity. It was certainly not the norm. I was living alone at the age of 19, which was certainly not the norm, and it was out of necessity, right? It wasn't out of an enjoyment process. However, I'm very grateful for that. And the reason why I rode a bike is because I had no transport. I had 0 transport. So I would get to work on a bus. X10 used to leave from the corner of where my house was. And then I'd walk the rest of the way. I used to work at the Belgian embassy at the time. And the peon had a motorbike. Jo raat ko wo aake park kar leta tha garage mein. So I asked the ambassador, we used to call him Ambi. I said, hey Ambi, I need transport. Can I use your motorbike to at least come and go to work? And he goes, Ayeshah, do you know how to ride a bike? And I was like, of course I do. I did not. Okay, of course I do. And then I went and called Adnan Siddiqui because I knew Adnan Siddiqui knew how to ride a bike. I said, Adnan, you got to teach me how to ride this bike. He goes, तुम्हें कब तक चाहिए? मैंने कहा, मुझे कल तक सीखना है. He's like, what? I'm amazed that he survived that episode. I think I almost killed him 3 times. And that was it. And I used to hide my hair under a helmet and all the rest of it. So no one would, and I'd wear a big jacket so no one could really tell that it's a woman riding a bike. However, yeah, it wasn't the norm. It wasn't something that I was, it was out of necessity. However, the choices I made in the media were very conscious. It was very, I remember when Nawaz Sharif came into power, NTM was a channel at that time. And Nawaz Sharif's father woke up one morning and decided every woman should wear a dupatta on her head and no makeup and blah, blah, blah. And I remember I used to take a lot of people off because I would be like, oh, look, my wrist is showing. Are you getting turned on? You know, like we would push boundaries that way. And it was just really about questioning the morals. And is it all about showing, or is it really about who you are and who you represent, right? And to me, Pakistan, for me, has always, what I've seen an increase of, it's more about ritualistic, dogmatic show of morals as opposed to true integral values on what people believe. And when push comes to shove, do they really stick to their values, or are they a convenience to bring on when need be to either control someone or something?
Yeah, even, I mean, right now, there's a lot of show about love for the Prophet. And I'm scared to even say this because it's even saying this might get me killed. But how much do people embody the principles of the Prophet? How much do they embody kindness? How much do they embody forgiveness?
Just the fact, Shahzad, that you had to say that.
Of course.
We are afraid to say that completely goes against the embodiment of what the Prophet represented. He had people throw trash on him.
It is genuinely scary to say this in Pakistan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Or even, God forbid, have a different belief or faith or way of thinking than the norm, right? We dictate who can call their house of God a mosque or not.
Yeah. We
dictate what kind of Muslim are you? Oh, are you really like qualified to be called a Muslim? Who gave you that right? Allah ke thekedar kab ban gaye? Did God come to you and ask you to become his thekedar? Because does God need you to be his thekedar? I don't think so.
या हमें हर मुसलमान को काफिर बनाना है और काफिर को मुसलमान बनाना है. बस जो जैसा है वो नहीं अच्छा लगता. Just like you need to change. However,
I mean, I feel very passionate about that because I feel that's really where society really went awry. It became all about just mind your own freaking business. Okay, everyone's faith is their own. It really is. It's not your business. Sab apne aap ke jawab denge. You know, you don't need to speak up for anyone.
Did you see it happening, or is it now coming as a shock to you? कि हम कहाँ आ गए? Or did you over the years be like, this is where we're headed. This is where I see this.
I could totally see it coming. Yeah. We used to talk about nipping things in the bud. I think I may have even spoken about it a couple of times. Is when the Lal Masjid thing happened, or even before that, like little bits and pieces, like this needs to be nipped in the bud, or the genie is going to be out of the bottle and it's going to be very hard to put it back in. And that's exactly what happened. People were afraid to be called the wrong person or to take that stand because they would be castrated by society or excommunicated or whatever it is. However, had those brave people taken that stand at that time, I think Pakistan would have been a very different country today.
Kaun hai ye log?
Well, I mean, it starts with the government, right? It starts with the government and it filters down to even within our society. Like how many people around you do you know have taken a complete 180-degree turn from how they used to be to how they are right now? And I'm not saying people don't change. Obviously, you grow, you evolve as you go through life. That's perfectly fine. However, how much of it is true change and how much of it is just to be accepted by society?
आपने briefly touch upon किया था on the scarcity mentality, and as we get into the conversation, I'd like to expand on that as well so that people know. But that's true. Even media industry में वही है ना कि मैं अगर एक stand support करके, if I get those likes, we both probably know people, and I don't like doing those controversial showbiz type interviews, तो नाम नहीं लेते. But हम लोगों को जानते हैं जो personal life में अगर आप देखें, they're snorting cocaine while like उनके statuses होंगे 12 रबीउल अव्वल मुबारक और सब ये काफिर हैं, and I'm just like, मैंने तुम्हें कल रात देखा था. तुमने कल रात जो चीजें की हैं इधर, and so they probably think we're just doing to survive. मेरे Instagram likes बढ़ जाएंगे, मेरे Facebook likes बढ़ जाएंगे, I'll get my next gig. They're not thinking of the larger impact they may have on society just by doing that.
And part of that is because I don't think Pakistan media has yet understood celebrity culture. I think they've really kind of let go of a lot of people that could have potentially made the media industry a lot more money than they already did. No, because they didn't. I mean, if you think about it, celebrities are not respected. I mean, they're looked up to as far as when they can make money for an advertiser, they'll come after you, right? However, to really kind of understand that they can create a movement, they can actually... Shehzad Roy is one person who really did really well with his celebrity status. Okay?
Pakistani kaise? Shehzad Roy is like
I
one
mean,
of the rare
he's just...
ones.
I mean, I just love that man. I've only met him 2 or 3 times. I think he's an incredible gentleman. And he's got a vision, right? The vision for education, and he really kind of like pushes that and has been working towards that. How much has the media really supported his work, if you think about it? And how much could the media have done, right? It wasn't really profitable for them or whatever it was, and so they didn't back it. Now, this is where national integrity can... This is like a whole different conversation. However, this is where national integrity comes into play. Where you think about...
Here's a political party, na? I think Shehzad Roy the galti kar di.
No, I think we have enough celebrities who've done that.
I think that's what he should have done to get the media attention.
Lekin wahi wali baat hai is how much of us actually think on the larger scale, well, what is the national good that can come out of this? And how can we all get on the bandwagon? And dusra masla ye hai ki Pakistan mein, coming back to the scarcity mentality, is, oh ho, ye to mujhse aage badh gaya hai, oh ho, ye to mujhse acha lag raha hai. They will not want to support someone because it's his thing or her thing, as opposed to, well, what is the greater good that can come out of this?
Yeah.
Right? And it starts out literally from the grassroots, simple stuff. Okay, let's take, do you remember Club Volley in Lahore?
I never came, but I know.
Okay. So that was started, for me, that was started as a movement because sports is a very open field, playing field, right? It doesn't matter what car you drive, doesn't matter what jewelry you own, it doesn't matter what family you come from, it's how you play the game, right? So that was the whole purpose behind it. And we had people who came on motorbikes and we had people who came in Mercedes, and I absolutely loved that. And that became an issue. Because we don't want an open playing field. We want to be able to feel superior than someone else. Yeah. We want to be able to say कि मैं फलां का बेटा हूँ या मैं फलां की बेटी हूँ. अब तुम्हें पता है तुम किससे बातें कर रही हो, right? That's the feeling that we want to have, we want to keep. We don't want to say, hey, what are you doing? How can I help you get up?
We want that.
That is the mentality that's not there.
I mean, something like a golf club, a DHA golf club. How many people genuinely play golf in Pakistan? How many people want to play golf in Pakistan? Why are you buying a 50 lakh rupees membership? Oh, ji, main DHA golf club member hu. Hamari beti ki shaadi DHA golf. That's why you're buying the membership. You're not buying the membership to play golf. No. You'll rather pay 50 lakhs for that exclusive status rather than go to your park, which is for free, and play volleyball there, because wo phir exclusive nahi lagta na. Instagram
status nahi usme. And, you know, something I've learned, because I've been doing a lot of leadership stuff. And I remember I was struggling for a while with getting to a certain, to becoming the kind of leader that I wanted to be with what I'm doing. And my mentor told me, Ayesha, in order for you to become that leader, like, even if you get the rank, if you haven't become the person who can lead, what is the point? And I think that's what we miss. We want the status, the promotion, the position, or whatever it is, without understanding who you need to be to earn that spot. It's not about how much money is in your bank. It's not about, you know, those are frills. And if you have them, great, good for you, awesome, yay you. However, that's not the only important factor here, right? It's who are you really? How do you show up in your community? That to me is way more important. I think way more telling about your character than anything else.
I mean, that explains.
We're having very deep conversation. I don't know if this is where you thought this conversation was going to go, by the way.
I never planned this, and I can talk to you for 4 hours, and genuinely every single person who listens to this will gain so much from you. I have the utmost respect for you, but before this just becomes a Ayeshah Alam Ki Tareefen podcast, I think it's just.
Can I do a bit of tareef for you?
जी बिल्कुल इसीलिए तो मैं बुलाता हूँ गेस्ट को.
क्या बात है.
पैसों की जगह मैं टेस्टिमोनियल्स लगवाऊँ.
I have absolutely loved and relished every minute of seeing how you have blossomed. I remember the TKF days, the Knowledge
Yes,
Factory days,
yes,
right? Your stand-up comedian when you
yes,
just started out.
yes.
And I love how you show up vulnerable, how you're willing to just share what's going on with you, and how that takes, excuse my French, fucking courage, okay? To come out, especially as a man in Pakistan, right? Just come out and say, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I'm dealing with. Because I think when we speak up, we give others permission to do the same. And it kind of has that whole ripple effect. So you are a world changer, my friend, and I'm so proud to know you.
I will throw all that appreciation right back at you because आज I mean I'm blessed कि आज सबीन की अम्मी का भी मुझे फोन आया था, मेरी उनसे भी बात हुई. So I was reminded of what Sabine did for Karachi with T2F and what you did at TKF. I think a lot of times we don't really come back and have this conversation कि अच्छा TKF पे कितने लोगों ने शुरू किया. So many of us, right? Zamaat Beg ऐसे randomly आ गया था, became Pakistan Idol. Shafat started there with us. मैंने अपना पहला stand-up comedy show 2009-2010 में TKF किया था. So to even build that space where we could just come in, have these workshops, we did acting wheel. उसके बाद हमने वो British Council वाला immersive theater,
yes,
probably Pakistan's first immersive theater piece. Oh, we did that. Rachel was in that as well.
Yeah.
Creating a space where people who look around and say कि हम तो कहीं और तो नहीं belong करते, तो हम अगर सारे पागल एक जगह आके मिल लें. And then you start meeting other pagal and you're like, ठीक है, हम कुछ पागल सारे मिलके साथ कर सकते हैं. Room for Improv, which is our improv room, came to be.
Yeah.
And then having you around as well to be like, okay, this person has an ethos about her work. Because जिस तरह आपने भी probably feel किया होगा, if I look at television, if I say, okay, Shazad, I just did Chudails and people are like, why don't you act more? I'm like, कहाँ? मतलब क्या, what do you want? मैं टीवी आके इसको चंड कराऊं? मैंने वो करना नहीं है. Not कि वो मेरे पीछे पड़े हैं कि आप प्लीज कर लें, रोल्स आप हीरो बन जाएं. But I don't look at television and say कि this is who I want to be. So then being around people who've done the work that you want to do, you're like, okay, there is hope. There is hope. So I was probably one of the starfish that you picked up and threw back into the water and be like, ठीक है, छोड़ो तुम अपनी नम्स की डिग्री और जिंदगी बर्बाद करो कॉमेडियन बन के.
और क्या. And you're fantastic at what you do. You are fantastic at what you do. So absolutely.
So thank you for creating that space and having us.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Conversations. तो ये
it was my honor.
सब भी उससे फायदे उठाएं. अगर हम deep जा ही रहे हैं, तो there's also a lot of issues with the media industry now. I'm sure you're very happy that those conversations are finally happening, but I'm assuming it was even worse back then with the Me Too conversation. I'm assuming it was even worse where people couldn't even say anything.
I think things would be said in private. It was never put out public. Like even with this Me Too conversation, and what worries me about the Me Too conversation is I don't think people understand the importance of it, and on both sides. I think sometimes it's used as a tool to and I want to be very cautious when I'm saying this, because there are genuine cases out there, and one has to be very careful and really carry that with a great deal of privilege and honor. It's not something just to be thrown lightly because you happen to be mad at someone or because you didn't get your way. This is a very real thing. And in fact, I remember when this first opened up in Pakistan, and people were like blah, 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 reacting, whatever, the whole noise that was happening around that. And I mentioned a name that I'm not going to take again because he's been taken to task by me personally, and he has since apologized. And so, and you don't want to just paint someone into a corner and then leave them there, right? It's also rehabilitation, because keep in mind, this used to be the norm, right? It was the norm to think that way. So now if we are challenging people to think differently, wouldn't it be fair to show them a way out rather than just paint them into a corner and leave them there? Does that make sense?
No,
So if someone is truly like, hey, I didn't realize that my hitting on you that way would be taken as sleazy or taken as harassment. I did not know this because I was not brought up that way. I was not given that education or the exposure or whatever that is for them. Are you willing to make a change going forward? And if they are willing to make that change going forward, awesome. Then, okay, you cannot change what's happened in the past. You can be remorseful, you can make amends. However, what are you going to do going forward? And I think that conversation needs to start happening now. Because what we do is we go, oh, dekho usne ye kiya, and then we just leave it there. And that's not fair because, yes, the victim has gone through her own or his own trauma. However, you have to understand that times change. It used to be perfectly normal, for example, even in the States, where smacking a woman on her butt as she passes by and go, hey, dearie, that was considered a very normal thing. And a woman was just supposed to smile and giggle, coquettishly and sort of, go away. That is no longer the norm. To do that right now, you would basically, sorry, I'm having my dentist call me. You would basically, get taken to task. So things change, society's thinking changes, you evolve as a society. So where's the path for that evolving?
Yeah, I think sexual assault is maybe where I would draw the line, but things like
sexual assault. No, I'm talking about harassment, not sexual
so like things
assault.
which are problematic. Yeah, they're problematic
sexual
now,
assault,
right?
Yeah.
They're problematic now. Agar wo aap just a lot of times people pick up things like friends mein ye cheez problematic thi. Yeah, well, that friends was shot 30 years ago. They didn't know it was problematic back then. So retrospective cancellation, I do have a problem with that. And then people who have come to terms with their, I mean, the victim is never responsible for the trauma of that person.
Never.
But in case they did something without even realizing, there needs to be space for that. Abhi jab LUMS mein ho raha tha, some kid said, I'm an NOP student. NOP is the National Outreach Program. तो पूरे पाकिस्तान से वो लड़के आते हैं, लड़के लड़कियां दोनों आते हैं. I don't know why, misgendered. But वो लड़का कहीं कोहाट वगैरह से आया था. And he said कि मैं जब यूनिवर्सिटी शुरू हुई, I saw this girl, I thought she was really pretty. So she was going to the dorm, so I just, kept my distance, but I sort of followed her to the dorm. And I realized I was terrible, and I'm really sorry. और वो क्या करे? मतलब इसके अलावा वो कर क्या सकता है? So if somebody was like, no, you need to be, look at where he's coming from. Look at where he's coming from. For him to come from that, to live in that culture for 18 years, and then come to LUMS and do it once and realize कि ये गलत है.
That's amazing.
That's commendable, rather than you wanting to punish that person to just satiate something. और मतलब जो उसको कह रहे थे इसको punish करो, वो भी और लड़के थे. Because हमें ये अच्छा लगता है ना कि ओ ये criminal है, ये monster है, इसको कर लो, look at us, the good guy.
So that again comes from the mindset of I will make you feel bad about who you are because it makes me feel better about me.
That's 99% of people who make other people feel bad. That's
100%.
You're hurting, so you want other people to hurt.
100%. I agree. Now, if you take the case of sexual assault, that is a crime.
Yeah, you always know that.
That is a crime. Yeah. And if the girl has said no to you, or the boy has said no to you, that means no. And until they don't say yes, you do not get to exercise your will upon them. I think the consent needs to be taught to children when they hit puberty, or maybe when you have the birds and the bees conversation. I don't even know if parents are having the birds and the bees conversation with their kids.
Obviously.
Maybe when they're older. I mean, I don't know. That's another conversation. What does consent look like? What does that mean? You can be in the heat of the moment and the girl could change her mind. And you need to back it away and go, okay, we're done. When you change your mind, we can talk about this. Consent, I think, is another conversation. So this is the evolving. Like first it was just understanding what it is, and then what is the way forward, right? I think right now Pakistan still is stuck on the what is, and not thinking, okay, how do we get through this? Because there has to be a getting through.
It's kind of pointless to even have this conversation in Pakistan, because Pakistan mein the movement never really kicked off. People who actually came out with their stories, they've suffered a lot more than people that were blamed or accused.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. In Pakistan, we love to blame the woman. We love to see women cry. कोई भी drama उठा लो. We love women crying. औरत रोती है तो लगता है पता नहीं सती सावित्री बन गई है. वो उसका रोना बहुत अच्छा लगता है. If a woman is laughing too much, there must be something wrong with her, right? Or she must be some kind of a scarlet woman. Take the case of what happened in Lahore LGS, for example. Okay, the Umair's wife, Myra. Okay, I'm picking that example because I know that case personally. You had men who harassed students. Okay, you don't hear about those men. We don't even know those men's names. However, the woman who said, well, you know, have you, I don't know, I believe there was some comment which said, you know, button up your shirt or something like that. That's what got picked up. That's what got Ochalofied and got to the National Assembly level. The woman who said that. Now, wrongly, rightly, that's a different conversation. That's a whole different ballgame. What happened to the men who actually did the act? How come we never heard about them again? It's just a different point of view, right? I mean, to me, that blew my mind. I was like, why isn't anybody talking about the perpetrators of the crime?
I think what people were criticizing Myra was जो आप कह रही हैं कि victim blaming होती है, right? If you get harassed and you are in a school where you want to be protected and you want to feel protected, and the conversation becomes, what were you wearing, right? Just तरह आजकल conversation, it's never about what
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
When you turn around and be like button तुम बंद करोगी नहीं तो harass होगी, it's very, very problematic to say something like that.
I agree with you 100%. However, I'm going to ask you again. Worst of the crimes. Take it back to the cohort thing. That is how women have been brought up in Pakistan. Okay, I remember when I first got married to Irfan, my husband is a very, very conservative Pathan. And he would constantly tell me to, and I grew up very carefree. I hardly wore dupattas. I mean, not that I would go around naked or something. However, I had to be careful now that I'm married into a conservative family, right? So whatever that looked like for them. And I would do it because for me, it's no skin off my nose. It doesn't really make a difference to me. If it makes them happy, why not, right? However, if you think about people that grew up in that mentality, and most women in Pakistan are brought up that way, where they are taught, button upar karke baitho, zyada mat haso, zor se mat bola karo. This is how women are brought up. So when you are coming from that kind of upbringing, your natural response then to guide a girl is to repeat what you have been taught. Right? So that's a different conversation altogether. So I don't think she came, because I know Myra. I know her personally. And I know she would not come up from a place of victim blaming. I mean, that never should have happened with that child. Never. Absolutely not. And what those guys did, whether it was a mayor or whether the other two teachers, whoever it was, is wrong. Okay? I'm just stating that point blank. However, to say that Myra victim blamed, I think was taking that a tad too far. And I think it would totally pivoted the focus. And again, we like to blame a woman. And so Myra was way more in the news than anything else.
I think it's fair to say she victim blamed without probably intending it to.
I don't think she intended. I know she did not intend it. She did not intend it that way.
Not intended to for it to be that way. But वही बात है, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The question is, what's fixed तो कभी नहीं हो सकता. Repercussion भी गलत लफ्ज है. But
so that comes back to what's the way forward.
Where does the healing come from? So maybe the administrators, जो भी LGS के थे, जो भी उन्होंने कहा, even if they come out and say, this is how we treated these and this is why this was wrong and this is how it should be done.
That's exactly what they should have done, and they didn't. They didn't do that.
They held their ground. I think the administrators were also like, हमने कुछ गलत नहीं किया, which is not the way they should have reacted.
And instead, they made Myra the victim. Oh, you know, she's the bad person, and it's like, okay, where's we all hold some form of responsibility in this. Even with my own daughters, I mean, I'll own it. And a lot of the reason why I was so glad they got out of Pakistan, because the thinking there, even with our girls when they were growing up, I mean, you know, they wear swimsuits to the beach. They wear shorts when they're going out for their walk or whatever. And over here, it's perfectly normal and it's nothing like outrageous or scandalous or anything like that. Could they do that in Pakistan? Absolutely not. Because look at the environment that they are in. So I would tell them when they were in Pakistan, be careful how you dress. Yeah. Because you don't want uninvited attention. Right? Can a woman go out in a pair of shorts in Pakistan? Realistically, absolutely not. And it's got nothing to do with her mindset or thing. It's the general attitude of men towards, because the education or the exposure level has not been there. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone goes out naked now, just kind of change things, what's happening in society. Like, it really is about Roshan Khayali, right? It shouldn't matter. That should not be the focus.
I think anytime a parent says this to a child, they always say it from place of concern. Ki yaar, ye kar lo, wo kar lo. I know teenagers who are watching this, especially girls, will hate us for saying this. But अब मैं क्योंकि मैं भी बुढ़ा होता जा रहा हूँ तो मैं realize कर रहा हूँ आप भी इतने बुरे
नहीं। wise बन रहे हैं, हाँ.
But I think parents always say it from a place of concern. As an adult, you're free to make your own choices. If you are cognizant of the choices, कि यार, if I wear this, this is what will happen. This is the attention I will get. But fuck this. I want to wear this. You're an adult. You can do that, right? So
absolutely.
I mean, you put up the vagina monologues in Pakistan, right? So,
right.
I mean, you probably were cognizant of the reaction you got, but fuck that.
Very much so.
We want to do this. We feel this is important to do. लोग hate करेंगे वो मतलब उनका.
That's their choice.
Yes.
So my responsibility is not how somebody else reacts to me.
Yes.
My responsibility is being fully aware of what I am doing and the consequences that's going to have. So, for example, when we did the vagina monologues, believe it or not, I had a woman in a burqa coming up to me and saying, thank you for this conversation. This needed to happen. Okay? Because she understood it wasn't about a organ on the woman's body. We were talking about something, a much larger picture. The vagina monologues was named that just to shock people out of their, status quo or whatever it was, and just really start thinking, right? When I modeled, at the time that I modeled, it was हमारी घर ऐसे घरानों क्या ऐसे घराने की लड़कियां modeling नहीं करती. That was the general thing, right? So the few of us that did, who came from English-speaking families or whatever you want to call it, who were not supposed to be modeling, because modeling was something that more for prostitution. It was to increase your rates, right? Which is why people went into films, to increase their rates, right? So that's why women from good families did not go into those areas, because it insinuated something else. And what we were saying was a woman has complete control of her body. She can choose to display or not display as she chooses, and it should be okay, right? I did a lot of risque shoots. And I was we were really pushing the boundaries. And the reason for that was, and I was fully aware of my choices, it was a big, excuse my French, fuck you to society. I make my own choices. You do not get control of them. Does that mean that I went out and had sex with every man on the planet? Absolutely not. I made my choices. I completely made my choices, and I stand by them. There's nothing yeah.
I think as an adult, even वैसे हम बहुत judge करते हैं. With the dirty comedy shows that I do, people from all stratas of society come. भुरके में लोग आते हैं, भोरी families आती हैं, दाढ़ी वाले लोग आते हैं, and I always make it a point to talk to them during the show, not because I'm judging them, because I know the audience starts getting uncomfortable. The audience is like, यहाँ कोई भुरके में आया हुआ है, यहाँ कोई भुरके में आया हुआ है. And once I talk to the person in the burqa, and I'm like, आप enjoy कर रहे हैं ना, आपको तो हाँ पता है ये भुरके में आपको बहुत मजा आ रहा है, and they say yes, सबकी जो वो एक tension है ना, वो आपके दिमाग में वो lift हो जाती है. They're like, oh, this person's just like us. And
she's just choosing to cover up, and it's okay. That's her choice.
Absolutely. And it's just such a little thing. But the fact that people who might wear a swimsuit abroad are sitting next to somebody in a burqa and laughing at the same things together.
That's amazing.
It's a very little stone it's a very little droplet in the large ocean of community building, but it helps. And we don't have that at all in Pakistan. Hum bas echo chambers or apne bubbles mein rehte hain.
But Shehzad, you brought up an important point. When you said they saw the woman in the burqa enjoying it as much as the person right next to them. I think the extremist thinking is on both sides.
Yeah.
If you wear a burqa, that probably means you're stupid and backward and pendu. Okay. If you wear a bathing suit, wherever, the pool or whatever, that must mean you're a loose woman, bad morals, blah, blah, blah. It's on both sides. We're judging both sides from either side. And that is dangerous. I think that middle ground of going, okay, so that's how she's choosing to live her life, or that's how he's choosing to live his life. He is gay, she is gay, he's whatever it is. It doesn't change the fact that he or she is human, and they bleed the same way, they think the same thoughts, they still want love, they want comfort, they want to have a home, they want to be happy, they want joy in their lives. These are your normal human values that every person wants. I don't know of a single human being that kind of goes, oh, I really want to be miserable for the rest of my life. Who wants that?
You haven't met my friends. You would be surprised. I think
you have gluttons for punishment, and that's a whole different thing. Let's not even go there. Yeah.
This will take us into a completely different rabbit hole, and this is also another conversation that we're having these very dangerous conversations that I have to walk on eggshells.
Did you expect anything else?
No, I thought this will be very motivational. I thought we'll have this conversation where you will give these life lessons of this is how to motivate yourself. And I knew we might get into the health conversation, which can also get controversial. But ये सब मैंने बिल्कुल भी नहीं सोचा था. तो बस मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि there's some people, and I'm walking on eggshells while saying this, who like playing the victim. They somehow start getting their kicks from being the victim in every single situation. So
there's a reason for that.
In love with their misery. Trauma is the reason for that.
No. So yes, to a certain extent. Look, bad things happen to everyone. Yep. Okay. I have been sexually abused. I have been physically abused. I have been emotionally and mentally abused. You get to choose. So when you're an adult, you get to choose what you're going to do going forward. You can either allow those incidents to define you and dictate how you are now going to respond. And I have news for you. The world does not owe you anything. I don't care what you've gone through. Okay? I have a brother who was murdered. I mean, I've had, and everyone has their story. Everyone does. I'm not the only one. However, what you choose to do with that is what defines you. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional here. So when people play the victim, it's because it serves them. Because when people go, "Hai bechari," they get to not take responsibility. They get to sit in that and wallow in it and not take responsibility for the choices they are going to make. As opposed to when you decide in your head, yes, this happened to me, here's what's next. You get to choose, you get to decide. Are you going to allow life to dictate to you what your life is going to be? Or are you going to choose to be the dominant force in your life? I choose to be the dominant force in my life. I get to choose what I want to create in my life. And I'm so grateful for it.
How are you this person?
I don't know. I've just been very, very blessed. I think I've just had angels along the way that have just helped and, paid forward.
Well, I'm so sorry that these things happened to you. And I mean, I'm actually not, because I believe when someone comes to me with that victim mentality and they go, "Aapko pata hai mere saath kya hua hai?" I've been twice divorced, and on top of everything else. And I go, "Okay, kya hua hai?" And I will empathize. And I'll go, "Okay, that's happened. What do you want now?" I mean, usually though, especially for women in Pakistan, if they're divorced, rather than sorry, you should be like, congratulations.
Yeah. I think it depends on the situation, right? Like, what are you going to do next? Okay, it happened. You cannot change what's happened in the past. The only thing that you have control over is what are you going to do now?
And
there's my motivational piece if you want.
And you can even be amicable and healthy about it. I mean, knowing Rachel.
Look at me, Brian and I.
Brian, and that's exactly what I was getting at. I think both of you agree.
Now, I have to say, we were not always there. there was a time where we didn't speak to each other for a while because we needed that time apart to heal and get over the anger or whatever it is that we were working on. Okay. Once we got, and of course we both have beautiful children that we both kind of parent. Okay. So now, of course, they're all grown up. So given that, you've got to find a way to communicate with. And Brian, by the way, is a wonderful person. He's a wonderful one. You can have two amazing people that just are not good for each other. Even my kids say, I don't know how you guys are married because we're so different. Okay. That doesn't mean that one person has to be bad and one person has to be good. You can just have two wonderful people that just, I'm assuming I'm the wonderful one as well. However, that just were not good for each other. And Brian and I are not good for each other. And I'm so grateful that we were able to see it. And rather than waste our lives being miserable with each other because it's the done thing to do, decided, this is not working. Because it wasn't. And we moved on with our lives. And we're still friends. Whenever he comes to Houston, we always go out to dinner together. When I go to New York, we always visit. And it's okay.
Yeah, that's the most important life lesson. अगर किसी को ये समझ में आ जाए कि sometimes two people are just not right for each other. You don't need a world-shattering event to get separated.
No.
I think ज़्यादा मसला families करती हैं. I know my friends who are in marriages just because of the families, and both of them realize this, and both of them are not even technically together, but they have to keep up appearances because family.
So they don't. So I find your choice of words interesting. No one has to do anything. You choose to, and you can choose to tell your family no. And yes, it's uncomfortable. And yes, you may have to face their wrath. And yes, you may not have to talk to them for a little while. However, is that the price worth paying in order for you to live a full life? For me, that's a price worth paying.
In this case, the price is even more shallow. They're used to a certain lifestyle, and that lifestyle is paid for by the parents. So
that's what I'm saying. When people make a choice, it serves them.
To walk out and rent a small apartment and live there, but that's not a choice they want to make.
Okay. So then there's no reason to complain because that's the life you have chosen.
Yeah.
You want the knocker chakar, you want the la-di-da, you want the madame lifestyle. Okay, then is that price worth paying for you? And if it is, yay you. Then don't complain. You've chosen that life.
आप तो बिल्कुल कोई रूम ही नहीं दे रही ना, इंसान कंप्लेंट भी ना करे.
No, there isn't. No, मतलब लेकिन किस बात पे complain? आपने तो खुद choose किया है.
आप हमेशा खुद चूज करते हैं, but थोड़ा comfort मिलता है ना, being like, no, I'm not responsible for my sadness, the world is.
So, yeah. So that's what I mean, because it serves them not to stay in that victim mentality. There's no victims. It's choices. You chose. And, even people who, having come from a physically abusive, my first marriage was very, very physically abusive. And I said no. Even though I grew up in a physically abusive household, right? My father used to beat up on my mother all the time. So that's why when I used to go to my father and say, my husband's beating up on me, he was like, just slap her around a few more times. Maybe she'll understand then. Like it made no difference to him because it was the norm. It was the normal way to think, right? So I chose very, very consciously, this is not the kind of life I want. And if that meant that I give up the la-di-da lifestyle and start out on the road and have to take an X10 bus to get to work, that to me and the freedom that represented was way more valuable than this kind of life over here. And yes, it meant a financial struggle. Yes, it meant, I remember I used to survive on Gharib Nawaz ki dal. 7 rupees ki plate aati thi. I still remember because it was just such a big thing. And I remember my first job, I got a job as a secretary somewhere. And I was calculating, अच्छा मुझे महीने के मुझे 3,000 मिलते हैं, दिन के 7 रुपए दाल हैं, तो मेरा खाना तो हो जाएगा. So, and I felt good about it. I was like, oh my God, I can look after myself. And honestly, one of the best lessons that I learned very early on, I remember meeting Nazneen Zafar. She was my predecessor at the Belgian embassy. And I went to her for advice and I said, I'm going to walk away from this marriage and what do you think? And she looked at me and these are lessons that I will never forget. She said, Ayesha, there's 2 things in life, in this world that you need to survive right now. You need a mattress and you need a fridge. Anything else above that is just icing on the cake. I had a mattress. So I knew I was 50% of the way there. And I was like, I can do this. And literally everything else comes as you progress through life, if you want it. And no, you don't have to sell yourself short. And no, you don't have to do ungodly things in order to obtain them. You can stick to your morals, you can stick to your values, you just work hard. It means, yes, it may be a bit of a struggle. However, that struggle is going to create the person that you will need to become in order to earn whatever it is that you're looking to earn. So it comes back to, have you become the person that deserves all of that?
I feel like I'm sitting in the front row of one of the best TED Talks I've ever heard. I'm not going to ask you if you have, because you really look like you have forgiven them for the hurt that they've caused.
I have.
I want to ask is, how did you come to that point, and how did you realize that you need to forgive for your own healing? Because I think that's what the read I get from you, that you decided to forgive for yourself, not for them.
You know, you hit the nail on the head, 100%. When you say, so originally, when I said I forgive them, I didn't mean it. However, your subconscious is always listening to you, right? And your subconscious, so that's why I say words have a lot of power. And the words that come out of your mouth, and I pay very close attention to the words people say, because it tells me a lot about where they are in their mindset, right? So you can say something. However, if your intention is, so when I first started out, I would say, I forgive you. I would literally sit there, meditate and say, I forgive you. And I didn't mean it. However, over time, I would put myself in their shoes. And it's a process. It's not overnight, and it's not easy. And there's a lot of crying, and there's a lot of healing, and there's a lot of that has to happen. However, it's okay to cry. Crying is healing. And forgiving, was it easy? Hell no. Hell no, because there was a time where literally, I think the time, for example, with my first husband, when I knew it was time for me to walk away, was when I was seriously, and I am not joking here, because it scared me, when I was seriously considering putting a pillow over his head at night. And when that thought came to my head, I was like, oh shit, who am I becoming? Because I was that angry and that furious. And I was like, I am starting to scare me. And I knew I had to get away from that, or I was scared of what I might do. So sometimes when I see reports of women killing their spouses or killing whatever, and immediately, and again, that's a whole different conversation. It's like, well, what was going on in her head? Was she depressed? What was really going on? And I don't think we give that enough credence. Again, we want to just paint people into a box and just keep them there, rather than think about, well, how do we get them back into normal society, and how do we get people to evolve from there? So forgiveness is an extremely important part of it. I've done a lot of personal development, which helps. And it's constant work, right? I think each level that you get to is just getting you ready for the next level. And that's life, right?
Yahi to masla hai. Just keeps getting harder. Just keeps getting...
So I think it's exciting, because, I mean, imagine how much more you get to break through, right?
Yeah. And it's also realizing different things about yourself, right? I think the path to meditation, therapy, or a lot of these things are about self-awareness, about realizing the things that cause you harm. Even if they have to do with something somebody else has done to you. And abhi jo aapne subconscious ki baat ki thi, mere therapist ne mujhe exactly same baat ki. She said, your subconscious doesn't know when you're joking. I mean, it was tailored to me because of who I am. So I do a lot of self-deprecating jokes, right? If somebody says something, I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm ugly. She's like, your subconscious doesn't know when you're joking. And sometimes I do. Some people think I come off arrogant on Twitter. It's because they can't read my tone over just text or tweets. A little switch I made was start to say positive things. Even if I say them jokingly, I'm the cutest. And if I say it like that, it's quite clear that I'm kidding to the person who's sitting in front of me. But if I type it out, they probably can't see the tone. But the fact that I'm using positive reinforcers, my subconscious is still hearing positive things rather than negative things.
And hopefully one day you'll believe it too.
I absolutely believe it. Do you not look at this face? Do you not look at the man bun? Come on.
No, I think the subconscious and what we call, there's another level. Like there's the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. And so, for example, Notice people who always say the words, oh, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke, are always broke. Because when the subconscious hears them say those words, your subconscious job is to give you what you want. And when you say those words, your subconscious will always drive your actions that will always keep you there to reinforce what you're saying. That's a whole different level, okay? This is a whole different level of coaching. However, it's absolutely true. Your words have power. Your words have so much power.
Yeah, I've even started listening to these positive reinforcers sometimes right before going to sleep for half an hour.
Good.
It's just somebody being like, you're amazing, you're awesome. And as dumb as it sounds, they work.
It's not dumb.
I feel better in the morning. If I do that at night, listen to those reinforcers at night, I feel better in the morning.
Yeah. There's actually studies that they've done on this. And a lot of the personal development work I've done now is really starting to dive into the superconscious and all of that. You can literally manifest whatever it is you want. Have you ever noticed when you're going out driving and if you think about, oh yeah, I want a Mercedes, and suddenly you start noticing a lot more Mercedes on the road? It's because you're manifesting it. Your thoughts have power. It's energy. And so because you thought that, suddenly it's bringing that into your world. Now imagine if you learned how to harness that and really create for yourself things that you want to create for you. It happens.
So I was teaching this class at Napa last week, and people were like, "Sir, aap to bade sadguru ban rahe hain," and they couldn't understand it, and I just stopped because I was like, they're not ready for this conversation. But Sana and Saim had put up an audition, and I know Sana and Saim because they're friends of mine, and it was a virtual audition. And I was like, "Tum log sab apply karo." And one of the kids was like, "Sir, ये सब lollipop होता है." I said, "What do you mean?" Like, "Sir, Pakistan में आपने कभी सुना है Instagram पे virtual auditions हो रहे हैं, ये सब बकवास होता है." I said, "Have you applied?" He said, "I didn't apply." Like, why didn't you apply? He's like, क्योंकि सर ये बकवास होता है. I was like, you see what's happening, right? You're self-sabotaging yourself. He's like, नहीं सर, मैंने पिछले 3-4 दफा किया था, मुझे नहीं मिला, ये सब बकवास होता है. Like, you're just comforting yourself by this negative train of thought. And वो बस हम फंस गए थे कि ये होता है बकवास या नहीं होता. Like, I know Sana, it's not बकवास, but from your perspective, if you don't know them, what helps you more get the gig? Thinking that it's genuine and I will apply, or thinking that it's bullshit and not applying. And he was like, sir, ये क्या आप कह रहे हैं? Positive, सोचो सदगुरु बन जाओ. I was like, okay, he's not ready for this conversation yet.
I mean, the way I would put it as, you can only win the game when you play it.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can only win when you play.
So, I mean, we're talking a lot of these about mental strength and awareness, or ये सारी चीजें. I also did a podcast with Ali Lakhani where he was talking about people's relationship with food and how trauma sort of also dictates that. And food is probably the number one addiction in the world, and we don't even treat it like an addiction. Pakistan में जिस तरह लोग खा रहे होते हैं, you don't even realize there's a problem there, which is why you're addicted to food, which is why you're eating a pizza at 3 a.m. Shazad. I'm not anymore, thankfully. But ये भी अब जरा मसला हो गया to have this conversation, right? You can't really have a conversation. Yes, however you look, if you feel beautiful, that's great for you. But if you have a problem, maybe let's not have the conversation where we frame it as all obesity is beautiful, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's hurting you every single day when you're morbidly obese.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up. So, I've been accused, like someone once said, oh, and I understand it was her reaction to what I was saying. It was going through her own filter of whatever it is her thoughts were, right? So remember, whenever someone reacts to something, for me, it's really, especially when I know it's just one odd person who's coming forward. I'm like, this is interesting. I wonder what's going on in your head, right? She accused me of body shaming. And I was like, and that's why I post my pictures of when I was obese all the time, because I'm like, hey, here's where I was. I think I was still beautiful. However, I was not healthy. And it's not about the body size. Having said that, in most cases, if your body size is way above the norm, chances are you probably have a lot of fat around your organs. That's going to create immense health issues down the line. When you're young, you can kind of get away with it. However, diabetes is on the rise. Heart issues are on the rise. And it comes down to your lifestyle. Food addictions are a very real thing. sugar addiction is a very real thing.
I
Sugar
I just
actually.
did no sugar October. I went through all of
Oh,
October
well done.
without
Well
having any
done.
processed sugar, except one bag of crisps. But it's
How do
nothing.
you feel as a result?
Uh, so it's again, people are like, how much weight did you lose? I was like, it wasn't about the weight at all. It's about how you feel. The only thing I've really noticed is the artificial spike is gone. So I wake up earlier, and by like 9-10 p.m. I'm done. I because I'm not
You're more
having.
productive, that brain fog. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And so
yeah.
it was just processed sugar. I would still eat a banana with natural sugar. That's fine.
Right,
But
right,
anything with
right.
processed sugar, yeah, I just avoided that all of October, and I genuinely do feel better.
Yeah, it does. It does make a difference. So when we talk about, food addictions, it's generally coming from some, I don't even like to say I lose weight. I like to say I released weight, because your weight is never about food. It's usually something else that's going on that you are not dealing with.
Yeah.
And therefore, food is your comfort place to go to, because it's the one thing. For me, it was the one thing I could control, because there was a time in my life where there was a lot that was out of my control. I was shifting countries, shifting cities. Again, my responsibility. I made choices that didn't serve me. However, that's what was going on. And the choice I had made was to go to food to help me deal with it.
Yeah.
Food will not love you back. Food will not help your situation. Food can do nothing else except fuel your body. That's all that food can do. So we kind of walk people through that process while giving them nutrition that their body actually needs, so that as the body is transforming, they can really focus on this part and this part, so that they make those little changes step by step. And you've made the first step, by the way, just cutting sugar out of your life, which is amazing.
For a month, I'm already
For a
thinking about the
month.
donuts that I will have on the 1st of November.
So here's again, that's diet mentality, right? Whereas if you think of not being in deprivation, and if every now and then you choose to have a donut, okay, have a donut. And what's your next choice going to be? Right? So it's
The
always about,
second
okay,
donut, of
Yamenika,
course.
yeah, what's my next choice?
Of course, the second donut, obviously.
Obviously. Okay.
Hey, it's about sort of rewiring your brain, right? I also related this. मैंने अपनी journey की बात की थी, how I have a lot more healthier relationship with food and how I came to that. And people are like, do you not realize this comes off as being fat shaming? I'm like, I'm talking about myself. I'm not even talking about you. But when somebody reads it, they read it like it's about themselves.
Yeah.
Like अगर Pakistan, let's say Sharmeen wins an Oscar or Malala wins a Nobel Peace Prize, पाकिस्तानी क्यों उनको गालियां देते हैं? They're like, हम भी तो यहाँ हैं.
Huh.
इस उल्लू की पट्टी ने इतना कैसे कामयाबी अचीव
Look
कर?
at all of this. Why didn't I get it?
How did this person achieve it, right? Like, if you're in school and all your friends fail, but one of your friend gets an A, you hate that person because you're like, मैं अब बाप को क्या बोलूंगा? मैं तो बोल के आया था एग्जाम खराब है. अब ये उल्लू का पट्टा पास हो गया है, तो it makes me look bad. People take things about themselves. If somebody else has a different journey, and in terms of being beautiful, it's a disease, right? So let's say if you have cancer, does that mean you're not beautiful? Absolutely you are. If you have a disease, if you have cancer, if you have AIDS, you're equally worthy of love. You can equally feel happy about yourself. You can equally be beautiful. But does that mean the cancer is good? No. You still need to fight it. And sometimes people will not be able to fight it. Sometimes people will succumb to it. But that doesn't make them weak. That doesn't make them less than anybody else. But the fact that if you say कि नहीं ये ठीक है, morbidly obese होना healthy है, I think वो बहुत problematic हो जाता है. You can still be beautiful. You can still deserve all the love in the world. You can still be happy with yourself.
I agree.
You can be in a situation where you need that to survive. अब हम बात करें thriving की, आप maybe you don't have the money. Maybe all the money you have is to eat McDonald's. Maybe all the money you have is to eat $1 slices and survive. If you're in survival mode and that helps you survive, whether that's drugs, whether that's food, that's great for that time. लेकिन
nice disclaimer there.
मतलब ये to say that it's even problematic to suggest that somebody should work on their health or even promote a healthier lifestyle कि ये problematic है और ये fat shaming है.
I just love that you use, and please move to the US and start coaching with me. I think it'd be amazing, by the way.
Hire me.
I love the fact that you use the word thrive. And one thing that I learned from moving here is in Pakistan, for me at least, I was constantly in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I think that is, as an artist, that's as like in every aspect of life, you're constantly fighting to survive. It's just a constant survival game, right? And coming here, and you learn some very good skills, which is why we tend to be very sort of, savvy or whatever, because we've learned how to survive. We've learned how to, overcome and rise to the top.
Even coping mechanisms.
Coping mechanisms, exactly. However, thriving is a completely different skill set. And it's interesting. I had to unlearn so many things that I had learned to survive because they served me very well in Pakistan and to do those things that I needed to do in order to survive and be, whatever it was. And thriving, oh my God, it's a whole different level altogether. And one has to unlearn, believe it or not, unlearn and really start to take off a lot of the things that we had to put on in order to, be in survival mode.
What were some of the things that you consciously unlearned?
So, for example, for me, okay. So one of the big aha moments, one of my first big aha moments was I was gone for this personal development class. It was out in California. It's a very physical class where they actually physically make you do these exercises. And through those exercises, you kind of observe how you react. And through your reactions, you kind of go, ooh, what was that about? So one of the exercises that they made us do made me realize that I'm all for helping people and helping them out. However, when it came to me, I would rather quit before asking for help. That came up in one of the exercises. And I was like, holy crap. Can you imagine the kind of world we could live in if we were okay and we made it okay for people to ask for support and for people to ask for help? And even people, like I have mentors who have mentors. Everyone needs a mentor. We seem to have this idea that if I'm supposed to be a mentor, or if I'm supposed to be a leader, or I shouldn't be seen to have someone mentoring me because that shows weakness. And that's not true. We all need someone to bounce an idea off. We all need someone to help us through because we all are human, right? We all deal with our own challenges. And it's okay to build that network of support and mentorship around you, no matter how high up you are or how successful. All the highest successful people all have mentors. Yeah. Or hamare in Pakistan, it's considered a weakness. Oh, wo to usse class leta hai, wo to usse seekhta hai. It's considered a weakness if you ask for help or support.
Because यहाँ पे reverse भी होता है ना. Like even if you go to somebody once and you get successful, अभी ये यहाँ बैठा होता था, ये रोड लोग नेशनल असेंबली में, ये तो मेरे बाप के पैरों में बैठा हुआ होता था. तो याद है भी कोई अगर एक दफा मिल भी लेना किसी और से, the other person like ये तो हमारा चेला था, ये तो हमारा, हम इसको अपने घर में नहीं गाने देते.
हम इसको छोटू कहते थे.
हाँ, इसको तो हम घर में नहीं गाने देते.
Instead of actually giving him kudos and going, wow, look at you, man, look what you've done, look what you created. No. We want to show them down that, tum kya the?
Yeah.
Right? That's the scarcity mentality.
I think people are like, इससे बेहतर है कि लोग इस तरह की बकवास करें मेरे बारे में.
And that's why people don't like to ask for help, because they don't want to be demeaned. They don't want to feel like they've been humiliated. They don't want to feel like they've been shown down, because who likes that?
Yeah. But even
what if we made it okay?
Even therapists need therapists. I think we all need somebody to
I think everyone needs someone. I mean, that's what I've seen. That's what I've learned, is everyone needs someone. We're not designed to do this on our own. Humans are social creatures. We learn from each other. I mean, even the people that I coach, I learn from them. There'll be one thing when someone will say, because all our minds work differently. Someone will say something, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Thanks. That's awesome.
So there was a time that you were also really struggling with anxiety, right?
I won't say anxiety. I think I was depressed and I didn't know it. I think because it was so normal to feel, I don't know if this makes sense. It was so normal to feel a certain way. I hadn't identified that it was depression. And I think I was depressed. However, I was so much in the survival mode and so much in the I've got to be strong mode and I've got to, whatever the story it is that we build up in our heads. I didn't realize I was depressed. And I think I only realized it when I came to the point of, getting all emotional again. I'm, by the way, an extremely emotional person.
I know.
And it's okay. Okay.
I'm quite sad you've cried so much less in this interview. Then that CNBC
Oh my
interview that you have
God.
up.
I was such a weeping mess in that. Clearly, I was very depressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, hi,
Having
this
said
is
that,
your, hi, Aisha, this is Amna, and you're like, Amna, you told. I was like, kya ho gaya
it was
yaar? Hum
horrendous. God,
coffee
that was so, and you have to understand, I hate crying in public. And that was the most mortifying experience ever. I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. And I was like, okay, it's too late to back off because it was a live thing. And I was like, what the hell? So yeah, having said that, again, why aren't we normalizing people being emotional? Like, it's okay to cry. I mean, I remember there was a time when I would apologize for being sad, or apologize for crying, or apologize for, whatever. And one of my mentors said, it's how you're feeling and it's okay. Why would it not be? Look at what you've gone through. Look at what you're dealing with. It's okay to cry. And that goes for men and women. Why don't we make that normal? I mean, it's just an expression of what you're going through and what you're experiencing.
It's because when you do that, you're apologizing for being who you are. You don't feel comfortable in being who you are. You don't feel like you deserve what you have. So if you're with somebody and you're like, why is this person even talking to me? I don't deserve to be this person's friend. I don't deserve happiness. And you start crying, you're like, oh my God, I'm making this person feel bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're just apologizing for who you are because you don't feel that self-love in that moment, at least.
Yeah. I think self-love is something that a lot of people struggle with, and that's internationally, by the way. It's all over the world. I think a lot of that comes back to your childhood. It comes back through your experiences, everything, right? Self-love is huge. And by self-love, I don't mean go out and buy a handbag or get a manicure, pedicure. I mean, like, seriously, like really accepting who you are and loving you for where you are and who you are, So, yeah.
I mean, retail therapy is actually one of the signs that you don't have self-love.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going crazy on Amazon every Black November, there's a problem there. So how did you realize then that you were depressed? If you're saying I didn't realize it when I was depressed.
I think when I got healthy and I started enjoying life again, and I was like, wow, this feels really good. What the hell was I experiencing the last 10 years? Right? When you're in the dark and all you know is darkness, light, then you don't know what light is.
Yeah.
It's when you experience light that you kind of go, geez, I like it so much better on this side. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it's the same people jinki hum baat nahi kar rahe the, who look at other people thriving and say there's something wrong with them and they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be sharing this. To the extent Meera Sethi ki shaadi ki videos pe logon ne post kiya hua tha. Do you not realize what people are going through? You're sharing your happiness. वो क्या करे? वो खुश ना हो. वो अपनी शादी पे खुश ना हो के.
Wow.
Because
and that's something. Why are we judging other people for living their lives?
But you see that they have such hateful lives that just seeing somebody happy makes them sad, and they can't come to terms with that about themselves. So if somebody goes online and all they do is post hateful things, they can't look at themselves in the mirror and be like, you're the hateful person for doing this. They have to come to terms with the hateful person that they are through some language of, whether that be this woke culture, whether that be cancellation, whether that be some other high horse that they're sitting on. But eventually it's just they're being hateful because they feel that in their lives.
Yeah.
And Pakistan is not मुल्क है यार, अगर आपके माँ बाप आपको गालियां देते हैं, आप स्कूल जाते हैं, आप बुली होते हैं. So if you go online and abuse a celebrity, ठीक है, ठीक नहीं है. But compared to the lives that you're living, I guess that's your only outlet.
Yeah. I've actually, there was a time where I just started unfollowing like people who post a lot of negative stuff. I don't want to see their stuff in my, because again, subconsciously it gets to you. So I unfollow them. When I get like crazy stuff, I just block them. I'm not even going to engage because it's not worth my energy or my time. I'm just going to block. And Facebook makes it easy. I love it when people think they're going to come in and kind of say something and I'm going to come back and da-da-da-da. I'm like, no, you're not that important to me. I'm just going to simply block you And now you no longer have access to my cool material. So sayonara, baby.
Have you
we're
seen
done.
Social Dilemma on Netflix?
I have. I think it's amazing.
So people think they're very strong, but they don't realize what they're going up against is an empire. All these computers are designed to attack your mind. So if you think you can engage with hateful content once and just dip your feet in the toes in the water and no. Once you're in it, you're in it.
You're in it.
एक किसी hateful content से engage करते, for whatever reason you get dragged in, now you're competing against the top scientists in the world using the fastest computers trying to attack your brain to get you to engage with more hateful content. And we see this in Facebook, and I don't know whether it's just because I've been doing a lot of psychedelics, but zindagi mein bhi yahi hota hai. This is precisely how life works. Yes, Facebook mein an algorithm is doing that, but in life your brain is doing that. If you are negative,
so it's not your brain. It's not your brain. It's your subconscious.
Or it's
what you manifest, right? Because again, your thoughts have power. You notice when people get together, they want to gossip and and then you lead from one gossip to the other, and you just go down this rabbit hole, and it's done. Whereas now for me,
देखें मैं तो बिल्कुल नहीं कहना चाह रही, बिल्कुल कहना नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन समीना की बेटी को देखा है तुमने? हाय, मैं तो कुछ नहीं.
Exactly. And now I'm like, you know what? Like when people ask me, oh, did you hear about this? And it's like, no, I didn't. It doesn't interest me.
कोई offend हो गया था. Somebody was talking to me and was like about to give me some gossip, and I was like, wait, will this help me? And like, I'm going through this. Will knowing about all of this help me? And they're like, no, it won't. I'm like, I don't want to know that. And they're like, हम तो इतनी hot tea लाए थे इसके लिए. Like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. Like,
yeah. So, and we're not here to tear each other down. We're supposed to be here to build each other up. Really. I mean, if you look at the idealistic, yes, it's an idealistic world. However, imagine if everyone did that. If we just took the time, even just to build one person up, the ripple effect of that, and just make a promise that if someone does that for me, I will pay it forward.
That's what
it's a simple philosophy.
I think having people like you around, Sabine, I think I was like, chalo, somebody paid it forward. Let me do that as well. But I think it all goes back to that scarcity mentality. Okay? If I'm in competition with everybody, if there are only limited slices of pie and I need to get one of the slices, there are two options, right? Either I build myself up and get to where the other person is, or I tear that person down because we're in competition. Literally somebody was like, don't ever pay attention to Shahzad's podcast. And I was like, okay, fine. And then the third tweet was, yeah. And the third tweet was, check out this new podcast that I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I see why you said that. I see why you said that, because by using my name, you got a few retweets. And once you got retweets, you're like, mera sun lena aap log. So rather than that person working for years to build an audience or whatever, it's easier for her to be like, nahi, Shahzad chutiya hai. Uski na sune, meri sun le. And I'm like, this is so blatant what you're doing, but I don't think you're realizing what you're doing. You really think मैं बड़ी कोई principal stance ले रही थी.
That is hilarious. Yeah, it is what it is. So just keep on shining your light. Just be the light. Just be the light.
So coming to your health coaching work, how important, how linked is that? Like, I know हमने अभी वो conversation शुरू ही की थी about fat shaming, body shaming. How do we have that conversation generally? And how deeply linked it is? Ke mental health is physical health.
So, of course, there's mindset, right? It's your relationship to food, first of all. Secondly, with nutrition, a lot of people think of when you're feeding your body, they think from the neck down. You don't understand that when you're giving your body nutrients, you're also feeding your brain, right? So it's going to get all those things firing off that need to be firing off, et cetera, et cetera. Mindset coaching is a very important part of our program. I mean, the books that we get with our kit, it's literally designed. It's a journey that you go through the year. You get to journal. You get to really question. You get to see where your triggers are. You get to see when this situation happens, this is how I respond. And then we get to kind of examine like, okay, is there something else we can do that kind of help replace that reaction or response? And it's really working through those one step at a time. I believe mindset is one of the biggest components, because if you're just thinking about the food, then that's diet mentality. You're just thinking of, okay, by the end of November, I want to be like 20 pounds down. And, and then come December, I'm going to go out and, get myself the biggest slice of chocolate cake available, or a dozen donuts or whatever it is for you. right? As opposed to I want to live the rest of my life in a healthy way. So for me, my why, I think it comes down to why, right? Why do you want to get healthy? Is it to look good in an outfit? Or is it because you want to live a certain way when you're older? Do you want to be able to have the kind of energy that's going to empower you to do all the things that you want to do? I want to be that crazy grandmother who takes my grandkids out and completely scandalizes my children. That's my biggest why.
Ayesha,
I want to be...
at any weight, you would have been the crazy grandmother. I don't think that.
That is true. However, I want to take it to a whole different level, right? So I want to be able to run around with them, take my grandchildren horse riding if I want, like for us to go out hiking together. And I really want to be an active grandmother. I don't want to be sitting on a couch, watching TV and really not able to move around much, which is what you see in a lot of older adults, right? That's not the kind of life I want to create for myself. So that's my why. Now, everyone will have a different why. That's my why. So I get to journal and I get to choose, well, if that's what I want, that's the bigger picture. What are the immediate steps I need to take today and habits because willpower will only get you so far. Willpower is a depletable resource. At some point, your willpower will end. So then what's left? It's your habits. What are your habits? So it's the healthy habits that you want to install along the way as your body is transforming, so that when your willpower is out, you do things anyway because it's a habit to do so, not because your willpower is forcing you to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think no sugar October ki main baat kar raha tha, I don't think it was from a deprivation diet perspective, but it's also from a delayed gratification.
I swear I wasn't talking about you.
No. I just mean in general, because somebody commented saying, I'm not going to do this because I don't believe in deprivation diets. I'm like, it's not a deprivation diet. Your body has absolute zero need for processed sugar. It's just, there is no if you're, agar aapko zyada shauq ho raha hai, you can have honey, you can have a banana, you can have fruits. Processed sugar ki aapki body ko koi zero, you're not depriving your body of anything. Absolutely you're not. B, even if I want to have a donut and I decide I'm going to have this donut in a month, I'm still strengthening my mind. I'm still not giving into my whims. I'm still deciding that I'm going to delay gratification, and that's going to give me mental fortitude. And if I'm in a place where I haven't been able to say no to a donut for a while, एक तो मैं ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ जैसे मैं डोनट्स ही मुझे सबसे ज्यादा पसंद है. आई थिंक आपसे बात करके मुझे क्रिस्पी क्रीम याद आ रहा है, इसलिए आई कीप थिंकिंग अबाउट डोनट्स. यू डोंट इवन गेट गुड डोनट्स इन ऑल ऑफ पाकिस्तान, सो क्रिस्पी क्रीम आ जाए आप. But even if you do that, because everybody starts from a different point as well, right? Even if you're somebody who right now can't say no to pizza for a month, be like, acha, I'll just have it on the weekends. I'll just have it on Monday. It'll slowly build you to where
it's about progress. It's about progress. It's not about perfection. So even if you made one decision better than what you did yesterday, that's a win. That's a win. I have a client, literally, she just started 5 days ago. Yesterday was her 6th day. And she messaged me last night. She goes, I hate myself. I'm like, whoa. Anyone who says that, I'm immediately like red flags up. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because I had pizza. I'm like, okay. And it's like, well, I just sabotaged. And I'm like, okay. So in the past, when you made that choice, what would you have done? Oh, I'd have gone out and had ice cream. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay. What is the choice you made this time? I got back on program, right? Okay. So you made a different decision. You made a different choice. That is progress in 6 days. So yay you. And she's like, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, okay, let's move to your next choice. So again, it comes back to that same conversation that we had earlier, the victim mentality thing. Yes, what's happened has happened. What do you choose to do now?
Sort of
it applies to every aspect of your life.
I think when you say that, it's a part of you which is saying go back. जो वो victim mentality comfort की हम बात कर रहे थे ना. If you have a slice of pizza and a part of your brain is like, just go back. Remember how much fun we were having watching Netflix, eating pizza? You're already there. You've had one slice. Aajo, wapas aajo. Mat karo.
Yeah.
And you sort
it's
of
comfortable.
Yeah, it is. And
it's what you know.
Yes. And if that was your coping mechanism through some hard times, then you also associate comfort to that because maybe that's the only place you felt safe.
Yeah.
मुश्किल तो बहुत है.
I have someone and she was morbidly obese. She's way better now. And her reason for putting on the weight was because she was raped. And so she felt safer not being attractive. So, and you're frozen. Hello?
Yeah, no, I have no. This is my genuine reaction.
Right. Okay. I'm like, okay.
No, I was lost for words.
Yeah. And it's because, and so we had a lot of work to do because she just felt safer by not being attractive and by being fat. And so she kept herself there. And so step by step, it walk her through and kind of go, okay, let's just walk through this. Right. So when I say when people that are unhealthy, it has nothing to do with food. It's got nothing to do with food. It's what's going on up here. It has everything to do with up here.
So for people who are listening, who might be at different points in their journeys, and I think even for you, probably moving to the US really helped, because even I was surprised when I went to the US. I was like, Pakistan mein bura consider kiya jayega if I go to Target and I see the person, a 70-year-old at the counter. पाकिस्तान में लोग उसके बच्चों को गालियां देंगे कि शर्म नहीं आती, बाप इनका टारगेट में काम कर रहा है इस उम्र तक. And I was taken aback initially. I was like, wait, these people are like 70, 80. How are they working? Why are they still working? And voice scarcity mentality, I was like, paise nahi honge, majburi ho. And I was like, no, they're thriving. They would much rather be at Target all day, or they may much rather do whatever work that they're doing than stay at home. If once you and there's so many people in Pakistan as well, they're like, bas abhi last year retirement li thi, phir is saal wafat ho gayi. I'm like, maybe isi wajah se ho gayi.
Because once you give when your mind is not working, I remember when I moved to the States, I loved the experience because I loved the anonymity of it. I love that no one knew me here. I love that I could choose to be whoever I want to be. And I remember we were starting from scratch. So I was like, okay, how do I make, it's not like you can walk into an office and go, hello, I'm a celebrity from Pakistan. Do you want to hire me? It doesn't work, right? It doesn't translate that way. So I remember I got into car sales, and I think there was some journalist in Pakistan and Ayeshah Alam ko dekho, yahan pe celebrity thi, wahan pe jaake gaadiyan bech rahi hai. In fact, there was a girl here from the Desi community who said, Pakistan mein mat batana acha ki tum gaadiyan bech rahi ho. And I was like, why not? Because for me, main haq halal ki kamai kar rahi hu. I'm standing on my own feet. I'm having a different experience, and I'm learning so much. Why is that considered shameful? Why? Because I'm now working as a carper. And that's another thing, is over here, there's the dignity in working for a living.
Yeah.
And it being okay. In Pakistan, the dignity of labor is not there, right? Yahan pe mechanics make so much, truck drivers make so much money here. So much money, $5,000 signing bonus. Are you kidding me?
I know somebody who's 40 and takes pocket money from his parents. And when I suggested
the front door,
when I suggested कि यार Uber Kareem क्यों नहीं करते, the person looked at me like, मैं Kareem चलाऊंगा लोग, and I was like, at 40, if you all you
why would you not want to stand on your own 2 feet? That I mean, I know, and a lot of this is in the Desi community. A lot of women and men almost find it demeaning or below them, to work for a living. And it's like,
news headline thi, Lums graduate drives Kareem. I'm like, good for that person. Even Farooq ka bhi, if you know Aro wala jo hai, us pe bhi news aayi thi ke singer of Aro runs convenience store in Canada.
I saw that.
Like, to theek hai yaar.
He's earning a living. I mean, and an honest living. Is that the problem, that it's an honest living?
Fans जो हैं उनको शायद ये मसला होता है कि जिस तरह when I saw the news that Faraz Anwar was working on Fiverr or selling his guitar solos on Fiverr, I felt bad as कि यार हम artist को इज्जत नहीं देते. This is when I found out कि आमिर ज़की लकड़ियों से गिटार बना के बेच रहा है, गुलदार भाई को गिटार दे रहा है कि आप ये बेच दें, just to you feel sad knowing कि हम अपने artist को इतनी इज्जत नहीं देते कि this is what they have to do to make a living. That is a completely different perspective from thinking कि किसी भी नौकरी में हकारत है या कोई भी नौकरी बुरी है.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I think celebrities in Pakistan, हम अपनों को इज्जत बिल्कुल नहीं देते. Okay. while they're there, it's great. We want to enjoy them. We want to enjoy their music. We want to enjoy their jokes. We want to take. However, what are you willing to give? Stop being such a taker, and how about if you gave? अगर celebrity का इतना तुम्हें वो है कि हाय बेचारा, well, okay, let's create something that can help the celebrities then, because celebrities really, it makes me laugh when people go, oh, ये charity का काम है, आप ऐसे हैं. It's like, do you understand that celebrities actually don't make a lot of money, right? Celebrities are struggling artists for most of their lives.
Yeah.
And even if and when they make it big, it's usually very short-lived. And then they're back out in the streets again, basically fending for themselves. That is the reality of a celebrity in Pakistan. So when people think that celebrities are, yes, they may be known, and yes, the social media may kind of present them a certain way and they have it all together, blah, 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 or not, whatever the case might be, they're certainly not rolling in it by any standards.
There's a reason ना कि एक उम्र के बाद जब आपका celebrity die down हो जाता है तो आप alrahim.com हो जाते हैं. There's a lot more money in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Absolutely.
Not to say कि some लोगों की spiritual awakening वाकई नहीं हुई.
Of course not.
But monetary decisions भी काफी दफा लिए गए हैं.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you get that kind of financial support, why not?
Yeah. There's a famous evangelist, and who famously it's not the person that you will think of immediately when you hear this, was very famously would say I don't ever charge for my sermons, and then would call and be like, अच्छा वो मैं आ रहा हूँ, वो आ रहे हैं, तो उनको gift के लिए आपने 2 iPhones देने हैं. Great technicality, right? You're not charging for it, but you're gonna get paid in iPhones for your celebrity sermons.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So anyway.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people who are listening who might be at different points in their journey. Me being 31 now, even right now when I go to the gym and I don't look like any of the gym bros, there are certain people who look at me, and maybe this is me projecting, but in their eyes it's like, you don't fucking belong here. Why are you here? Which maybe if I was 17, 18, 19, 20, I would never go back. If I got one of those looks, I'd be like, अच्छा ठीक है, मैं नहीं जा रहा. Even though the gym is the exact place where you should be. If you're overweight and you want to start, you're at the exact place you need to be. You've taken the first step to your progress and your path.
Awesome.
So great for you. So for people who might be at a place where they just feel like, nahin, this is not for me, or maine is journey pe nahi jana, or I don't belong, or for whatever reasons they've come up in their head to not start, what do you say to those people?
First of all, you belong. Okay, you belong exactly where you want to be. And kudos, you said it right. You're taking the first step, you're taking responsibility for your actions, and you're making changes in your lifestyle. So that is commendable and amazing, and you belong. Secondly, this may be a little bit controversial. 80% of your health is nutrition. Okay, starving yourself is not the answer.
Okay, Urva Hokane. Okay, Urva Hokane.
Why? Did she say the same thing?
She said something like, mental health kuch nahi hota, bas diet karein. Something like this.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No. So 80% of your health is nutrition. And by nutrition, I mean the nutrients that you're putting into your body. So what does that look like? You're going to eat 6 to 7 times a day. People do this intermittent fasting thing. You will plateau out at some point because you're putting your body in starvation. And at some point, your body is going to go into storage mode. So eating 6 to 7 times a day is actually better for you because it keeps your blood sugars level. Your blood sugar won't spike up and down, right? So smaller portions. Drinking water is huge. At least 64 ounces. I don't know what that is in Pakistan. So ye jo botlein hoti hai, 4 of these bottles minimum a day, if not 6. Pani. Sleep has a big thing to do with it. On the days that you don't get enough sleep, your body actually sends a signal to your brain that releases a stress hormone, and we translate that as hunger. And if you think back and you crave carbs. So if you think back on the days where you've made food choices that are really not the best, think back, did I get enough sleep last night? And chances are you probably didn't, and your body is just screaming out for some rest. That's all it is. So it's really learning what your body is saying to you, right? Stress. How stressed out are you? What are you doing to mitigate that? Are you taking that me time just to kind of, because you get to be in charge of your schedule. You get to choose how you're spending your day. And if you actually break it down, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 10, like literally, the other day I did this exercise with someone who's coming on as a client next week. She goes, oh, I don't have time. I'm like, everyone has time. We all have 24 hours in the day. You just choose where you want to spend that time. So let's go through your day. What are you doing 8 a.m. to 8:30? And I literally walked through every half-hour block with her. And she had 2.5 hours where she was literally just twiddling her thumbs. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Look, according to your schedule and what you told me, you still have 2.5 hours there. What if you use 5 minutes of that time to do some meditation? Would that make a difference?
Yep. And ये मैं genuine advice सबको दे रहा हूँ because this is what I do as well, and I've noticed if you work out for 2 hours, you'll earn 2 more hours. Because if you were not working out at all day, you would have 4 to 6 hours where you're just lethargic and don't want to do anything. But if you go out for 2 hours, you're actually going to gain time because you're going to have more productive time. You would feel better for a longer period of time. So the working out is not lost time. You've made more time.
I feel, you tend to be more productive when you've like spent your day, your hours wisely. And I'm going to say something that may surprise you. Heavy exercise like HIIT or like major strength training and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's good for you. Yes, you want to build your bone density. Yes, you want your strength training. However, it's not an effective tool for weight loss. It's a good habit that comes into place. So our philosophy is we get people to the point where they have the energy and we get the habits in place, and then we work on fitness, right? That's a whole different level. Like for weight loss, heavy exercise is not going to help you. In fact, it'll throw you, if you're not fueling your body correctly, it'll actually throw you out of fat burn. So that's why you find people going to the gym, they go, I don't understand what's happening. I'm working out, like I'm running like 10,000 miles and I'm still not losing any weight. It's like, yeah, you're probably not feeding your body enough food. That's probably what's happening.
Even if this was just scale par hai, that weight is a certain level, it doesn't matter if you feel better, if a lot more of that is muscle weight as opposed to fat. It doesn't matter what the scale says.
Scale is just a tool.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, this morning I had another long conversation with a client of mine. She goes, I don't understand. This whole month I've only lost 4 pounds. I'm like, okay, what's happening with your inches? Yeah, my clothes feel a lot better. I've lost like 6 inches. I'm like, so would you rather be a size different or would you rather be like a certain number on a scale? Because, okay, size, definitely. I'm like, okay, good. Because fat takes up more space. So as the fat is burning, you're going to shrink. So obviously something is happening and the changes are happening. So she goes, okay, done.
अच्छा, आप anti-intermittent fasting क्यों हैं? Because from what I've heard or read, intermittent fasting is great for you.
For a short term, it's not a lifestyle.
But from an evolutionary biology perspective, and this might just be one evolutionary biologist जिसकी मैंने किताब पढ़ी है, he argues that human beings were designed with intermittent fasting. अगर हम अपने ancestors देखें, they weren't having 4 meals a day. Sometimes they would have 1 meal for 2 days or 3 days even. So हमारी biology is not designed for the constant food intake that we do every day, and your body needs some time just to not have food.
Your biology was not designed to put you in a car and drive you anywhere. Your biology was not designed to put you in a nice little comfortable house. Your biology was not designed to
none of those things help our biology. The living in a house all day is not great for your biology at all.
However, here you are. So with evolving times, how do you shift to cope up with where you are today? So if you go back to the ancestors, they would walk for miles and miles and miles sometimes, right? And they'd be grazing. कहीं पे berry मिल गई वो उन्हें खा ली, कहीं वो जड़ी बूटी मिल गई वो उन्हें खा ली, जानवर मिल गया. Then we're talking about big meals, right? However, I'm pretty sure they were probably like grazing something or the other along the way. And look at their activity levels. They were hunting, they were fishing, they were running, do we get to do that? No. So how do you shift your thinking to go with modern times?
Okay, again, just to clarify, by intermittent fasting, what do you mean? So like if forever I decide कि 8 घंटे मेरे खाने के, and I'm not going to eat for 16 hours, out of which 10 I'd probably spend sleeping.
You will lose weight initially because of a sheer deficit of calories.
But even in the long run, as a lifestyle choice, if I take that, isn't that still healthy?
Why would that be healthy? You're depriving your body of nutrients.
No, I'm just
over
taking
a long period of time.
I'm taking them in a certain time, and then baki time my body will process, and it will also get some rest time. Like I'm not putting pressure on my stomach to process food the entire day. And when you don't do that, it also then takes care of other things, right? If it's not processing food, like your body is not processing food all the time, then it has time to be like, अच्छा और क्या हो रहा है? अच्छा ये एक मसला है, इसको मैं तब तक fix कर लूं, while he's not eating food.
So actually, they've done studies that have proven that keeping your blood sugars level actually manages your insulin better. Therefore, like we've had diabetics getting off their insulin. Okay, that's a huge deal. Yeah. It manages your cholesterol better, right? Because again, your blood sugars levels are being kept stable. It's the spiking up and down over the long term that has very, very keto, again, is another example of that. Very adverse effects on your health. Keto is really high in fat. Oh my God. So people that have gone for keto, when they get off keto, they blow up like crazy because again, you put your body in starvation mode. And so your body is like, oh, thank you, I now have food, and cholesterol levels because it's so high in fat.
So the diet aspect of it is again, these fads, your diet hota hai. But having your body do ketosis for a while at least is good, nahin?
For a short term. Over the long term, it's actually damaging to your health. It damages your liver, it damages your kidneys because you're processing a lot of fats. So for example, what we do is we put your body into lipolysis, which is a much milder form of ketosis. So that way your body is still burning because you want to keep your body burning, right? Your metabolism going so what ketosis does is it moves all the energy that it needs just to your most critical functions. Yeah. So it pulls fat even from your brain, by the way, right? So over the long term, that has an impact on your organs. With what we do, it doesn't put your body is not in fight or flight mode. It's not in survival mode. It's not in starvation mode. It's just in a very gentle form of fat burn, which is why you don't feel hungry. You don't have that brain fog. Maybe the first 3 days are a bit rough because you're kind of getting the toxins out and all of that and withdrawal symptoms from sugar, etc. After that, you feel amazing.
So what he was arguing was कि आपके दो systems हैं, like जिस तरह CNG और petrol पे गाड़ी चलती है, and you need both systems. Once you're not using one of them, your body sort of stops knowing that it's there. You need both. You need lipolysis and ketosis both for ideal functioning.
I can just speak by the results that we've gotten. So they speak for themselves.
I guess वो भी है ना कि everybody's body also is different.
I have people with Hashimoto's, with PCOS, with immune deficiencies, diabetics, heart issues. My resting heart rate was 125 beats a minute when I started.
What is it now?
So in 6 weeks, it went down to 72. Now it's down to 63.
That's a cyclist's heart rate. That's great.
I do not cycle. So there's something I'm doing that's working, right? Because remember, we're not focusing on the weight loss, we're focusing on the health. And that includes health of your brain, health of your organs. Is your body working optimally? That's what we're looking for. So when I check in on my clients when they first start, you stay away from the scale. I'm talking to you about how are you feeling? How are you sleeping? What are your mood swings like? I've had people get off their anxiety pills. Like huge life changing things. I have a mom who now has the energy to play with her children, whereas before she'd come home from work and just be so exhausted. So now that family's life has changed because they've got their mother back, right? So when we talk about transformation, that's what we mean. We're transforming lives. The weight loss will happen because it's going to happen, I promise. Let's look at the health. What are you doing to change your health habits?
I think that's the most important thing, how you feel. Numbers जो हैं, वो बस I think दिखाने के लिए होते हैं. Like even with cholesterol, it's highly controversial now. So the notion that cholesterol is bad for you is really questioned now. And
I don't know, there's all kinds of things, good LDL, HDL, whatever it is.
The prominent theory is that HDL is good, LDL is bad. So
right, and they keep shifting and whatever.
वही हुआ है ना कि हुआ क्या है कि आपकी सारी medications are designed के LDL नीचे है, LDL नीचे है, HDL ऊपर है. without really realizing कि हो क्या रहा है. Your body is not a scale कि एक जगह कम करो दूसरी जगह बढ़ा दो.
I'll give you my example. Did you know I had a stroke last year?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I had what they call a TIA, that's a transient ischemic attack. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, I was very fortunate that it happened 6 months after I lost the bulk of my weight, because had it happened before, this would have been a very different story. Okay, they did a scan of my heart, and the doctor was shocked. He's like, your arteries, everything is clear, which is why a transient stroke is a stroke that happens and just goes through. Like, it doesn't stick like nothing. It just went through. However, the consequence of my living the last 10 years of my life so in such an unhealthy manner, obviously I had to pay the price for that in some way, shape or form. However, because I'd gotten myself healthy, it happened and it just like nothing, chukare, like no lasting effects, right? The doctor wanted to put me on a statin, which is to help me with my cholesterol.
Yeah.
So I took it because obviously jaan nikal gayi thi. I was like, oh shit, I better I better do something. So I took a couple of pills, and then I just, because now I'm in the health world, so I opened up the contraindications. I always read the contraindications. Side effects of this medication include, you could develop blood sugar, you can develop this, you can develop that, you can develop suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, holy shit. So I called up my doctor and I said, are you aware of the side effects? Yes, but you need this. I'm like, okay, I've already brought my cholesterol points down by 100 points by doing what I'm doing. I am not taking your medication. Can we watch this for another 3 months and see if that improves? And he goes, well, it's still a little high. I'm like, yes, I understand it's a little high. However, there's progress that has been made. Is it okay can we revisit this in 3 months? And he had no argument to give me because I had the side effects that were written in their literature. He goes, okay, let's watch it for 3 months. I went back 3 months later. He goes, yeah, you don't need them. Doctors are very happy to prescribe things to you because that's what keeps their pockets filled. And I don't know about Pakistan. In America, they don't have a healthcare system. They have a sick care system. They want you to be sick so that they can give you all these pharmaceuticals and pills, so that's going to create another issue, and then you need another pill for that. And it's just this cycle that once you get into.
It's even worse here.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know anymore what's going on over there. So this movement that's taking place of becoming, let's stop being a sick care system and waiting for symptoms and then worrying about the symptoms. And let's talk about how do we stay healthy. That's the most, there's a place and a time for doctors. I'm not like, thank God they're there because we need them, right? For major stuff. However, I want a doctor to help me get healthy. I don't want a doctor just to kind of go, here, pop this pill and you'll be fine, right? I want someone to really be able to help me with that. So that's what we do. Basically, we fill that gap.
So वही जो अभी नया बंदा आर्ग्यू कर रहा था, वो कह रहा था कि LDL are actually firefighters. So if you have high LDLs, the problem is not that you have high LDL. The problem is the fire. So if you see a lot of firefighters somewhere and you're like, oh, there are a lot of firefighters, इनको कम करना है. No, what is the fire that they're dealing with? That you need.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
हम life की बात कर रहे थे कि whatever choices you make, you pay a price. Yes, you can choose to take the bus and not be in a terrible marriage. That's the choice you're making. So even with medicines like statins, long-term effects काफी बुरे होते हैं. But कोई भी अगर आप major medicine ले रहे हैं, you will pay a price somewhere else. And the doctor model is कि ठीक है, आपकी heart medicine लेने से liver damage होगा तो liver medicine है, liver medicine लेने से kidney damage होंगे तो kidney medicine है. बस फिर आप cocktail of medicines इधर उधर लेते रहें. And again, if you have an issue and your doctors are suggesting you need something, I'm not saying मैं कोई anti-vaccination psycho नहीं हूँ. I'm saying
right.
all the medicines your doctors are saying, but also be wise about it. Sometimes take another, take a second opinion, take a third opinion, ask somebody you know. Because US में तो big pharma चलें lobby करती है senators को. यहाँ पे तो individual doctors के हजें जो हैं वो सिर्फ दवाइयाँ लिखने पे हो रही होती हैं. I have a friend जिसकी medical company है. उसका काम ही ये था कि वो जाके doctors को check करे कि आपने हमारी medicine आज कितनी बेची है. And उसकी basis पे सारे perks थे, whether that be a car, whether that be a hajj, whether that be an umrah.
Wow.
So doctors literally have a quota to fulfill for particular medicines. So they will assign you things like, मुझे एक दफा उसने कोई बोला था कि दिन में 8 दफा 2 पैनाडोल लो, and I was like 16 पैनाडोल लूं मैं दिन में. He's like हाँ. I was like आप पागल नहीं हो गए मैं दिन में 16 पैनाडोल लूं. I mean, it was either that or knee surgery, but I was in a lot of pain. But I still
Right.
didn't want to take 16 Panadols in a day.
No.
So probably Panadol के कोई इतने ज़्यादा side effects नहीं होते, but that's still insane. So yes, doctors, the healthcare is a sick care system. The money is in keeping people sick, not the cure.
Yeah. So that's why I tell everyone, I mean, yeah, you can, that's the route you can take, or you can decide, hey, how do I get healthy? How do I get healthy? How do I get to, and there's no such thing as maintaining. What do you mean by maintaining? Okay. It's what's your optimal health? What do you want? What is the kind of life you want to lead? I want to have an active life. I want to be able to, I don't want to have to rely on my kids and make their lives miserable. Beta, mujhe glass pani la do, because I'm too old and decrepit enough to get to the fridge myself and get myself a glass of water, right? I don't want to be a burden on them. I mean, I know that God forbid, should the need arise, they're there for me.
Yeah.
However, I want to be responsible enough to make choices that's not going to necessarily put them in that position. When I go, because we all have to go at some point, I'm hoping it'll be like that, And by the way, no crying. I want everyone to have a party and celebrate my life for what it was.
We'll just put on your videos. We'll put on videos of you crying at your own funeral. सारी जो पुरानी interviews हैं.
My tears will be enough. Yeah.
हम वो देख के हंसना शुरू कर देंगे सारे. But yeah, I think it's very underrated how you feel. People are very interested in what does the scale say, what does the inch tape, what does the how do you feel? Because even all calories are not the same, right? If you're having a good piece of steak.
Oh my God, please come to America and come coach with me. Yes. Every calorie is not equal. Yes.
Yeah, 6 bananas is not the same as 20 nuggets, even if the calorie count is the same, which I doubt.
No, it isn't.
So, if you're putting shit in your body.
They say you are what you eat, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, what's your take on veganism and vegetarianism and all these things?
So it's interesting because vegans are the one group of people that we actually don't work with because we haven't figured out
because they're annoying.
No, it's because we haven't figured out yet. I know they're working on it. However, we still haven't figured out how to get enough protein in their diet that doesn't involve something that has high carbs. And most vegans tend to go with dals, they tend to go with beans,
soy, right?
Which are soy as well. Like soy is different, right? So lentils, lentils, you've got your beans. A lot of them, especially the desis, tend to do dal and beans, right? It's very high in carbs. So, and it's not plan compliant to get you to your goal. So, and if you're not going to eat eggs, and if you're not going to do yogurt, and you're not going to do tofu, and because they don't like it, or whatever, then how do I get protein into your diet? Because your body needs proteins. Your body needs, believe it or not, fats. Your body needs carbohydrates. Now, it's the quality of carbohydrates. As you said, every calorie is not equal, so it's the quality of what you're getting that we're talking about. So vegans we don't work with yet. It's like, no, sorry, we don't work with you guys yet. We're still figuring that out.
Sorry, vegans, if I call you annoying, but वही मसला है ना कि आप cult बन जाते हैं जब, and you feel like you're better than everybody else. Whereas even scientifically, right now, the plants that they have to create artificial meat does more damage to the environment than actually producing meats.
Yeah.
And the question is, what's bad for you? Is meat bad for you, or is processed meat bad for you?
Yeah.
What to avoid? Trans fats? Should one avoid trans fats?
So the kind of fats that you want to go for. So what are healthy fats? You can do olive oil, you can do avocado oil, you can do, I know some people really kind of propagate ghee, by the way. I know in Pakistan, we think ghee is actually better for you. It is very, very high in fat, right? So it's not
butter
like it doesn't work
for you.
Butter is better than margarine, right? Because margarine again is chemicals. Butter is actually just made from milk.
No,
right?
I mean, in comparison, but I feel butter is better for you than the canola vegetable oils that we use in Pakistan.
100%. Rather than canola, I would rather you use olive oil or avocado oil or walnut oil, right?
Coconut oil, which is a lot more easily available.
Yeah, exactly. Coconut oil. As a healthy fat, you can do almonds. Almonds are very high in fat. Walnuts tend to be higher in carbs. And those are your fat choices. You get avocados in Pakistan now, though, don't you?
बहुत like burger दुकानों पर
हाय हाय, अच्छा ठीक है, सही है कि
which
लाहौर में
what's
मुझे याद नहीं,
the
लाहौर में मुझे याद है वहां पे
East
मिलता था, क्या नाम था,
Al-Fatah.
मेट्रो अल्फता, हाँ
तो
या
Al-Fatah is सस्ते नहीं होते ना, अगर मिलते भी तो avocados are expensive. But
that's and over
in
here
terms,
as well, yeah.
in terms of our organic market, I think we're still a lot better than the US when it comes to organic food.
100%, 100%. Pakistan की सब्जियां just like, not that I haven't had it in a long time. Gajar ka halwa, you cannot make a decent gajar ka halwa in the States, and the reason for that is because gajar ही से नहीं मिलता है, उसमें flavor नहीं, बड़े होंगे लेकिन there's no flavor in it. You know,
it's also the gand that has all the flavor, right? Like if you make a bun kebab at home, nobody can make a bun kebab at home. You
shut
just
up.
can't. You can't. I mean, you can't, right? You need the pasina,
The gand,
the
you're
bina
so
dhoye hue
gross.
haath,
You're
and
so gross.
the oil that has not been changed for centuries. Like, you know, when you go to Gawal Mandi and you see कि वो रात का oil रखते हैं और फिर सुबह वही, उसमें 10 सालों का taste है. वो tradition, वो जो आप
No, you're right. I agree with you when it comes to the taste, 100%. The health factor of that is a whole different story, okay? But taste-wise, okay, I'll give you that.
It's what you're going up against as well, right? So saying something like dalda cooking oil is one of the most, and I don't mean dalda because dalda, but sare, all these
Right.
vegetable oils, all these canola oils, they're the worst for you. And probably 90-95% of the food in Pakistan is cooked in those because वो सस्ता होता है, because it's readily available होता है. कोकोनट ऑयल का मसला ये है कि उसकी स्मेल होती है, तो वो खाना मजे का बिल्कुल नहीं बनता. I don't know if you've tried cooking in coconut oil.
I don't use coconut oil. The smell puts me off. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll generally use olive oil. In fact, यहाँ पे तो I don't know if you can get it there. You could probably put it in a bottle and make it yourself. Olive oil spray. So instead of using the whole thing of oil, just spray your pan, because all you need to do is just moisten the bottom of your pan, right? You don't really need to have food like swimming around in it. You
It
just
depends on what food, Ayesha. It depends on what food.
Oh my God, Shazad.
I mean, you can't make a kadhai by spraying olive oil. You need like...
So I actually make a kadhai and I use very little oil. I use like maybe 2 teaspoons of oil.
Yeah, maze ki nahi
Because
banti.
the tomatoes melt down, man. Your tomatoes are there now.
हाँ, I think उसकी जो tomato puree बन जाता है.
और फिर ऊपर से आप दही डालते हो, बात ही खत्म, दही की अपनी तेल होती है.
So just eat healthy, right? Don't deprive yourself.
Just eat healthier. Don't deprive yourself. I mean, literally, I had nihari the other day. Instead of naan, I used like, you won't be able to get it there. It's like just cauliflower ki wo cheezein bane hote hain. But there's ways that you can tweak. I mean, the girls that are coming on, the Desi girls, have come up with like incredible ways to create Desi recipes and be healthy. Just use your common sense. Less oil, less salt. You know, we namak hum to phenk rahe hote the, patni is going out of style or something. Sodium is so bad for you, you know.
I don't
it's just common sense stuff.
I know that to be true, but damn, do I love some salt, right? Like,
right? So
again, मैं compare करता हूँ ना, rather than ordering a pizza, if I make a steak myself, तो ठीक है अगर मैं salt ज़्यादा भी डाल रहा हूँ compared to what I would have had otherwise. If all I'm taking is a piece of meat and putting some salt and pepper and olive oil on it and grilling it, इससे ज़्यादा मैं healthy नहीं हो सकता, बस.
Well, okay. So
at least I should be allowed salt in
power
it.
of the spoken word, first of all. Secondly, again, come back to what you said. How do you feel?
Great.
Okay. Well, then I guess you're fine then.
Evolutionary biology नहीं, but कुछ एक meat खा के मुझे तो बहुत एक अच्छी caveman feel आती है. Like, you know, if I just have
love steak.
a lot of
I love steak. Yeah.
Oof, I to feel like कुछ अंदर से caveman trigger हो गया क्या ये.
So you need to come to Texas. We're known for our steaks. Oh my God, steaks here are amazing.
I've been to Houston. Maybe I didn't go to the right steakhouse because मेरा दोस्त रेहान है.
Well, if you came to Houston and you didn't come to see me,
मैं आपको बताता हूँ मसला क्या था. आप नहीं थी उस time.
I'm not even talking to you right now.
आप नहीं थी. I messaged you.
अच्छा ठीक है, सही है.
When I came.
Oh, really?
आप उस time Sugarland में रह रही थी. कहाँ रह रही थी?
No, I've never lived in Sugarland. Katy or Houston. These are the two places I've lived in.
कुछ था because I had messaged you when I came. But the problem was मेरा एक बहुत अच्छा दोस्त है जिसके पास मैं था. He's very halal. So he took me to a halal steakhouse and he was like, this is the best. And I was like,
Okay, yeah.
But then he took me to Bindu Khan, which was amazing. So after living in the US for a couple of years, having Bindu Khan मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. Houston का Bindu Khan.
आप वापस आ जाए ना, we'll give you a real meat tour.
बिल्कुल हम वापस आएंगे. आज आप हमारी पॉडकास्ट में आई, हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा. कोई
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been an interesting. I love talking to you. You have the mental depth that I enjoy. So thank you.
No, it was great talking to you. And how do people find you now? For people, everybody who loves you, who's looking for you, who's like, kahan hai wo?
So I'm in Houston, Texas.
No, not actually find you. Social media, ताकि अगर वो
Okay,
याद
social
करा सके
media.
आपको
Okay.
कि you're still remembered and loved
Okay,
and
okay.
remembered.
Oh, sweet. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Snapchat, I'm, any social media platform, basically, I'm there. So,
And if
yeah.
people want to now hire you to coach them.
So our program is actually not available in Pakistan yet. We've been racking our brains of figuring out a way to get it there. It's not feasible at this point. Customs, customs. And when you convert the rupee to the dollars, it just doesn't make financial sense with shipping and everything else. It just does not make financial sense for most people, right?
लोगों के हाथ भेज दें सामान सारा.
इतने लोग आ नहीं रहे ना. And again, responsibility अगर नहीं गई and someone's paid money, are you willing to gamble, right? Most people are not. So right now we are in the US, we are in Singapore, we are in Hong Kong. I believe we're about to open up into Mexico as well. So hey, if anyone there would like to at least have a conversation about what it could look like for them, let's do it. Just a conversation. At best, they could get on board. At worst, they might pick up a few tips. So it's a win-win situation.
And a lot of people who are listening, even with COVID, I hope it was a wake-up call for a lot of people. Because yes, if you have underlying conditions, if you have issues,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Risk. But if you're also unhealthy, you're at risk.
100%. Our business actually exploded during this COVID time, mashallah, because people realized the importance of being healthy. Because by the way, if you're obese, you're at higher risk. If you have diabetes, you're at higher risk. Any underlying condition is going to make your immune system way more vulnerable. So,
do you also feel like a heartbeat skip when you use the word obese? Because it's also like a problem to even use that word, to even say it like it's a bad thing. Even though medically it is a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. Yeah. Obesity is a very unhealthy thing.
Yes.
Right?
I think it's when we associate the person with it, right? It's not an identity. Don't make it.
It's not identity. It's a state of being. That's all it is. It's a state of being. And then what you want to look at. And by the way, when you see a person big, so think of an iceberg. That's only a fraction of the fat that's wrapped up around your organs. That's your heart, that's your lungs, that's your kidney, that's your liver. So can you imagine the state of being that your organs must be in at that state? So that's what I'm looking at. It's obesity is a bad thing. I'm sorry, it just is. So,
I think that the leap that people make that they have problem with, again, we don't have these conversations, right? A lot of times these things are just, this is why I love doing the podcast. This is why I also said, I'll need a couple of your hours, and you're like, wait, what? Because ये बातें अगर हम status रखें या tweet रखें, वो समझाई नहीं जा सकती where we're coming from, right? So like if you just tweet obesity is bad, people will come at you with pitchforks.
Yeah.
But when you have this conversation that yes, obesity is bad, that doesn't mean every single obese person is not beautiful, or every single obese person even has that fault. मेरी एक दोस्त है who eats healthy, who works out, cannot lose weight. Doctors are trying to figure out कि underlying health मसला क्या है जिसकी वजह से ये हो रहा है. She has a medical condition. She has a genuine medical condition that it doesn't mean what she's doing is wrong. It doesn't mean कि उसकी कोई गलती है, या it doesn't mean anybody has a right to say anything to her. So it's not a judgment call that if you see somebody fat and you start thinking it's their fault, I was able to do push-ups and lose weight, why can't this person? नहीं, इस तरह से अगर आप सोचेंगे तो you're already doing it for the wrong reasons.
No. So first of all, I want to say if anyone is obese, I'm telling you right now, it is not your fault. Yeah. Okay? It's because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how. So now you get to choose, well, how do I learn? How do I learn what I need to do? Right? What is your underlying medical condition? Right? Did you know that for every pound of weight that you have extra, it's 4 times that of pressure on your knees, and it's 10 times that on your.
I've lost one knee.
Right? And it's 10 times that on your heart and lungs. So imagine the pressure that obviously it's harder to move at the gym because you're using a lot more power and a lot more energy to move because you've got a lot more to move.
Yeah.
So, and it's that's just the science of it, right? It's never a judgment. It just is where it is. And until you're not willing to look at it and go, okay, here's where this is, here's where I want to be, here's what's next.
Yeah.
Simple. Just move the emotion away from it and just look at it very, very factually.
In fact, that can be even a positive, yaar, कि if you have so much weight and you're walking 500 meters and you're like, my friends are walking 5 kilometers, it was harder for you to walk 500 meters. So
100%.
pat yourself on the back for doing
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely.
ये मैं ऑडिशन दे रहा हूँ
100%.
आपकी कंपनी में नौकरी करने के लिए
आ जाएं.
It's my job interview. So yes, fat shaming is terrible, but fat shaming means when you're shaming somebody for being fat, where you're making fun of them or you're abusing them, it doesn't help. Literally telling somebody fat does not help. Unko pata
Trust me, I have been fat and I know people look at you differently when you're big. People have a different attitude towards you when you're bigger. They do. They don't assume you to be as intelligent when you're bigger. They talk down to you. They're condescending to you. They snicker behind your back. I had a woman look me in the face and go, oh, if I was as fat as you, I would kill myself. Like literally, I've had a woman say that to me to my face. And I want to thank her because that really kind of like dug a dagger through my heart. And it really got me like to the point of, okay, I need to make a change. Because
you should have been like, everything's bigger in Texas.
Right?
I'm so happy you didn't live in California. वहाँ तो लोग आपको देख के मार देते हैं.
So again, that would have been my defense mechanism coming out. Or I could have said, well, what can I change? Right? So to anyone who's watching and is feeling like, I feel like crap, and what happens is we go through these phases. As an ex-fat person, I went through this phase where I was like, I'm beautiful, I'm fine with my size, and you go through this angry phase, even though you may not define it as such. It is kind of going, well, I'm just accepting me as I am, which is perfectly fine. That's okay. You can accept you for who you are, which is what I did. However, not realizing it was having health repercussions, which I paid the price for 6 months later, right? So yes, you can stay where you are. There's nothing wrong with your size. However, I would encourage you and invite you to think about your health because that's what's important. It's not your size.
It's the larger culture you're fighting, right? If all you care about is models किस तरह दिखती हैं, मेरी Instagram पे मैं किस तरह दिख रहा हूँ, then the conversation is big is beautiful. Yes, it is. Absolutely, people need to be represented. It shouldn't be a perfect body, a perfect beauty. सिर्फ ये हो सकती है. That's the wider culture that you're fighting, and absolutely we need to fight that.
Yeah.
And you can feel beautiful.
Absolutely.
But health is health. It's like any addiction, right? If you're a heroin addict, is it your fault? No, it's not your fault. You got addicted. It's a problem. You're going to try fixing it? Yes. It'll be very, very hard. Yes. How will you fix it? By shaming that person? No. Through love, support, help, and Ayeshah's program.
There you go. Well, I mean, I just want to end this with saying this one thing. Look, it's hard to be unhealthy and it's hard to be healthy. Choose your hard.
That's my number one pickup line on Tinder as well. Choose your hard.
My God, I cannot believe you went there.
I just had to.
Went there. Does it work?
Perfectly for me. Not.
Does it work?
ये offline बात है.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for joining us today, Ayeshah, and thank you everybody for listening.
Welcome.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Shazad. Bye.